All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guys Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz. Episode 217 in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us. Whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTubing, I want to thank you so much for being with us in this time. And believe it or not, it's the middle of May. We actually have some football to talk about, guys, because there has been some rumors, some ramblings, some discussions, some debates, topics as a whole to discuss, and I want to get to all that today. We're also going to get to the Eddie Hour, which is my favorite hour of every single episode that we do. Talk a bunch of different things. We got a big boxing match coming up tonight as we're live streaming this. We have NBA playoffs tonight. The Lakers are down 0-2 against the Nuggets. Will the Lakers fight back with their 2 home games coming up? There's a lot to discuss in that. Some MMA cards coming up. There's a lot to discuss, guys. Like I said, we have a jam-packed show, and we know that because it's such a beautiful weekend here in Kansas City, I don't want to speak for everybody, wherever you're listening or wherever you're watching, but in Kansas City, it's supposed to be a really nice weekend, so we don't want to take too much of your time, but we're going to touch base with all these as much as we possibly can because we know that you guys tune in to hear our discussions, hear our opinions, but you know what? It doesn't stop there. We want to let you guys know that if you go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, hit notifications, every time we go live, you'll see and you'll hear us talk, our beautiful voices, especially Trevor's. We'll be giving our opinions, but we want to hear yours as well. Hit us up in the comments section. Let us know what you guys are thinking, what you guys want to discuss, whether it's on topic of what we're discussing, or if there's a random thought you guys have in the world of sports. We promise you we'll give you maybe not an educated opinion, but we'll give you our honest opinion on what it is that you guys want to talk about. It's free range here. We freelance, if you will, and that's not just because that's my name. That's actually what we do here, is we talk about everything. So definitely want to get to you guys and want to talk about that. We'll end the show, obviously, with a series of L's in the world of sports as we do for the last 216 episodes. We're going to keep that tradition going for 217 consecutive episodes. But I want to start here first and foremost because we need to pay homage to an all-time great sports figure that really laid the foundation and the groundwork for a lot of black athletes in America. The passing of the great Jim Brown, the longtime Browns running back, who is one of the greatest, still is one of the greatest running backs to ever live. You look at his numbers, they're still very competitive with all the guys that have been great over the last 30 to 50 years. Jim Brown, like I said, was a revolutionary player. He was almost impossible to tackle. He looked like a man amongst boys out there. If you watch the old footage, he was just so much bigger and more dominant than everybody else.
He's before his time.
Yeah, you could definitely say that actually helped him out, like a lot like Bill Russell did. But knowing what these men had to overcome outside of their sport, knowing how much blatant racism there was still going on in our society, to know that these men still went out there, went to be, great on the field and off the field, activism work. Jim Brown even got into some acting. I remember one of my favorite comedies of all time, Mars Attacks. He was in that movie as the casino guy whooping on some Martian ass. Just to know the legacy he's left behind. I definitely wanted to put that out there first and foremost. My heart goes out to his family. Just what a legacy he left behind. And the NFL, you can't tell the story of the NFL without Jim Brown. In fact, he's probably one of the first names you mention when it comes to what he did and what kind of great player he was and the man that he was as well. Wanted to put that out there on the top. So we know that the biggest talking point for the Chiefs this offseason has been Chris Jones and his future with the team. Most fans, present company included, I think we all have agreed on this multiple times, have a strong belief that Chris Jones and the Chiefs are going to come to a long-term agreement. That contract extension will happen. I don't think that's really been something that's been a mystery or a secret or something that's really been debatable. I know there's some out there that have thought about maybe the potential of the Chiefs trading him, but I think if they were going to do that, that would have been before the draft to get as many draft pieces as you could possibly get and just add to this class they just had. But I think now that we're looking at this, it looks like that extension is going to happen, and he will be in Kansas City for at least the rest of his prime years. The details of what that contract extension will look like, something we can talk about, we can debate about at a later time. But I do think within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to see that contract extension come to frame and come to work, and we're going to see Chris Jones have a long-term deal in here because I think the Chiefs obviously know that their best shot of adding more Lombardi trophies to their growing collection is to have him here over the next 3 to 5 years. But today, I don't want to talk about what the Chris Jones and if he's going to get this, in my opinion, the inevitable extension. I want to talk about who's next. So we know that the defensive players on this team have gotten really young. The Chiefs have intentionally built a very young defense. But there are guys that are coming up on contracts that are notable players on this defense for now and potentially in the future. So my question is, which defensive player is next in line for the Chiefs to give that big money to? Is there anyone currently on this defense outside of Chris Jones that the Chiefs view as a long-term, have-to-keep type of player? That's the question I'm bringing up today. As it stands, outside of Chris Jones, the Chiefs currently have 13 defensive players that will be free agents in 2024. L'Jarius Sneed, Willie Gay Jr., Mike Dana, Drew Tranquill, Derek Nottie, Turk Wharton, Deion Bush, Malik Herring, Matt Dickerson, Najee Johnson, Jack Cochran, Lamar Jackson. That's not the quarterback. He didn't switch positions, although a lot of people would love him to do that for whatever reason. And then Phil Hoskins. I believe Mike Edwards might be on that list as well, so I may have missed him. So that's 13 to 14 players that the Chiefs have on their defensive side alone that won't potentially be on this team come next season just based on contract alone. Obviously, this discussion begins at Sneed and ends at Drew Tranquill because all the other pieces that I listed below them are and will be considered rotational depth. These are guys that we know without question you can replace and sometimes even upgrade pretty easily and substantially. So let's start with Tranquill. He's a 28-year-old linebacker who is insanely versatile. He knows the division, he knows the conference, and has plenty to prove with an even more motivation behind him on a one-year deal. And although I do expect Tranquill to play a very important role in the Chiefs' defense in 2023, given his age alone and how we all know the Veach rule that he doesn't extend signed players 28 or older unless they're a unicorn or a one-of-one player, I think this will be a one-and-done year for Tranquill at this time. Maybe we'll be wrong. I know Eddie's hinted at it before that if he balls out, maybe there is a 2-year deal in play or something that Veach wants to give him because they see that this guy is very much in his prime years and maybe he'll be a guy that they want to have for the next couple of seasons. That is possible, but as it stands, I do think he's a guy that's going to be here for one and done. But if here's the thing. For Tranquill's side of things, that might actually be the best thing for him because if the Chiefs have more playoff success and he's a key piece to it, you better believe a long-term, highly lucrative deal is in his near future elsewhere. This league loves players at that position, and keep that in mind as I go down this list, because guys at linebacker are going to be guys that the league is always looking to pay for.
Well, and he's at that perfect age, too.
He's at the perfect age. So I think that he's somebody that I think is going to be a one-and-done at this time, but I definitely reserve the right to change that opinion because, like I said, we're very far. We're 109, 108 days from the season. A lot can change in that time, let alone as the season progresses.
And one-and-done contracts seems to work out for players doing the Chiefs. Yeah.
And they're undefeated, as our guy, the late, great Therese Paylor, did say. Yeah. Then there's Mike Dana. I like Mike. I think we all like Mike here. He's been a solid dude and contributor since Veach drafted him in 2020. And being the 177th overall pick, I think it's fair to say that Dana has exceeded any expectations he may have had, if he had any. He's only 25 years old. He plays in an important position, has plenty of playoff experience, and he also has this, I love bringing up this stat, he has this uncanny ability to play his best versus the AFC West. So, for instance, Mike Dana has 10.5 career sacks in 3 years. 7 of them have come against the AFC West. Like, think about that. Almost 70% of his career sacks have come against teams that you have to beat directly. And 4 of them have come against the Chargers. So about 40% of them have come against one team. He always seems to find a way to dominate the Chargers every time they play. And again, I like Mike, but I don't love him enough to convince myself that he's a guy that the Chiefs can't move off of. Especially when you consider the fact that he only has 1 sack in 9 career postseason games. He's the type of guy that could have a 10-year career in this league because he could fit in a lot of different schemes. And although I do think the Chiefs would like to keep him and have him stick around, I do expect the team to spend their money elsewhere because they can upgrade at that position. I don't think he's a guy that you just can't live without. And so I think Mike Dana will be here. Obviously this season he'll make the cut. He'll be on this roster. He'll play decent. And then I think he'll give himself an opportunity elsewhere in the league. That's where I stand with Mike Dana. And then there's Willie Gay Jr. Willie Gay is a true fan favorite. I don't think I know a single Chiefs fan that doesn't love Willie Gay. I've never heard a negative word about it. Even when he was going through the crap he was going through with his ex and his baby mama, there were fans that were just vehemently defending him. And I think rightfully so, because there was a lot of muddy waters in that. And obviously he's a player for this team that the Chiefs fans just love. And there's very little doubt about this dude that you shouldn't love. I mean, he's an insane athlete, first of all. I mean, every time he's on the field, he's easily one of the 2-3 best athletes on the field at any given time, no matter who the Chiefs are facing. He's an absolute tackling machine and is always amped up on the sidelines. You see every time the Chiefs' offense is on the sidelines, he's waving that towel, or special teams is getting out there, he's getting the crowd pumped up. Him and Chris Jones really feed off each other's energy, and I really appreciate that about Willie Gay, is that even though he's still one of the younger guys on the team, he still goes out there, shows a lot of leadership, get on the sidelines, getting guys awake, high-fiving, getting dudes amped up. And I that's something that you can't coach. That's something that's embedded in somebody. That's something that just naturally comes about within that person. Not to mention the fact that he's clearly shown his value when he's on and off the field. Because I tweeted this back in October of 2022, so the numbers changed a little bit, but this is where it was during that time of the year. The Chiefs' defense in games that Willie Gay does start since 2020, this is playoffs included, they only give up 20 points per game. Chiefs' defense in games Willie Gay does not start since 2020, playoffs included, they're giving up 28 points per game. So him being in this defense has really helped out big time. Like, you can tell that there's a difference in athleticism, ability, speed, everything when Willie Gay's on the field and when he's not on the field. So he clearly has shown his value to this team. He'll only be 25 years old in 2023, and he looks to be just entering his prime. Like, we could really start to see Willie Gay shape into something that could be special in this league. Which is why, ironically, I don't think Willie Gay is a long-term answer here in Kansas City. I think that Willie Gay is going to outprice himself this season. We have to remember that the outside linebacker market is a hefty one. Teams of all current structures, whether good or bad, will overspend at this position, except the Chiefs. Think about it. The Chiefs have shown over and over just these last two off seasons what they plan to do at linebacker. You can connect these dots. They drafted Leo Chenal. They just signed Drew Tranquill to that low-end, high-reward, low-risk deal. Drafted B.J. Thompson, who will play out some outside linebacker this year. I know he plays D-end, and he's exclusively a pass rusher, but you saw in his draft highlights, this dude was out there doing pass pro, stuff that they have Willie Gay doing right now. So there's guys on this team right now that the Chiefs have shown us that they can play, build their linebacker room with Chief veterans and draft picks. And they don't have to go out there and overspend on guys like Willie Gay Jr. Willie Gay will be neither when it comes to 2024. He will not be a cheap veteran, and he will no longer be on that rookie deal. He's the type of guy that can and will get himself a nice fat contract. How do I know that? Well, according to SpotRack.com, as it currently stands, Willie Gay Jr.'s current market value is set at 4 years, $28.2 million. That's not too bad right now as it currently stands. That's something I think the Chiefs could do and probably would do. But you have to ask yourself this. Why didn't the Chiefs pay him this offseason then? What's stopping them from doing that? If he's a valued commodity, if he's a guy they see and they view as a long-term answer, outside linebacker, with that contract that can easily be done, why didn't they do it? And when Willie has a career year or at worst another more of the same season with more playoff success attached, you don't think the price tag will go up at least another $5 million? Think about it. Willie Gay could potentially be a two-time champion by the end of 2023. 25 years old at a prime position? Oh, my God. And he plays a very valuable position on a team that doesn't overspend there. That's the problem, though, for him. He's a very good player, but he's not a unicorn one of one. I think we would all agree to that. He's a very solid, good player. He has the potential to be that guy. He hasn't been that yet. And he's missed time with injuries, missed time due to suspensions, things like that kind of weather that storm a little bit of the hype that you want to put around Willie Gay moving into a contract year. The Chiefs can replace him while saving millions, and that is what I expect them to do. That is where I stand with Willie Gay. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the Chiefs end up saying, look, man, we can't do it without this guy. He's a guy that we got to keep. That may happen. I don't anticipate that's going to happen. And that leaves my guy, L'Jarius Sneed. He is the Chiefs' second best player on the defense and one of the most versatile defensive players in the league, and that is without question. Since day one, we could tell that Veach got himself an absolute steal in the 4th round when he drafted Sneed. Even though he only played 9 games in his rookie campaign, we could see that he was the best corner on this roster already.
Unique skill set.
Drafted as a safety, thank you, Trevor, because that was exactly what I was about to go to. Drafted as a safety, but has played outside and slot corner in his NFL career. Sneed has shown that he can do it from he can do it all, from picking off and breaking up downfield passes, shutting down slot receivers, and even sacking the quarterback. He is a player any defense would kill to have. Many assume that he will be a guy that the Chiefs will extend and keep in Kansas City for years to come. But a lot like Willie Gay Jr., Sneed plays a position that the Chiefs have stayed young and cheap at since Veach took over. I told you guys a few weeks back, and I know you guys will probably remember this from that episode, we had this discussion. I told you guys a few weeks back the most money that Veach has ever spent on a cornerback was Bashaud Breeland, and he made around $2.5 million in 2019. That's the most he's ever spent at that position. You can talk about maybe in a few years, McDuffie might be a guy that they decide to break the bank on. That's debatable. The fact is, Sneed's market value is sitting at 4 years, roughly $30 million. Like Willie Gay Jr., that's not bad for the player he is. But yet again, if that's something the Chiefs could do, why haven't they? And when they have postseason success again, his number is going to go up by millions. Furthermore, and this is I hate to be this guy, the brass tacks of everything, because as much as I love to praise L'Jarius Sneed, he's a guy and I love him to death, the Chiefs have had insane success with Sneed, but they've also had it without him. Since 2020, he's missed 9 games. That's postseason included. They're 8-1 in those games. Mm-hmm. And that includes the AFC Championship just this last season when he played 4 defensive snaps and went out, I believe it was a concussion. And all the rookie players that the Chiefs just drafted a few months back, previous to this AFC Championship, all stepped up. And I hate to say it, the Chiefs didn't miss L'Jarius Sneed in that game. And if you would have told me before that game that in 4 plays, L'Jarius Sneed goes down with a concussion, how would I feel? I'd be sweating bullets. Because I love Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, and Brian Cook, and these other guys. We all knew that the best player going into that game in the defensive back department was without question L'Jarius Sneed. And losing him, a lot like losing Tyrann Mathieu the year previous, ironically, in the AFC Championship, is something that I found, that was a Buffalo Bills game, something I very much feared. And when we saw L'Jarius Sneed go down, I feared that vehemently. But we saw these guys step up, which gave the Chiefs even more ammunition and justification to not pay him after something like that took place.
And that's props to the coaching and Spag's system as well.
Yeah.
You know, to find bodies to fill in and us having a system or to even adjust to other skill sets of other players to fill in that position.
And that is why, and that's 100% the reason why I'm bringing all this all in, because I'm going to say this. Outside of Chris Jones, there isn't a single guy on this defense that the Chiefs can't live without.
He's the anchor. Yep.
Chris Jones is the one of one. He is the unicorn. That is why the Chiefs are going to pay him an insane amount of money. Because he is the best in his position in the entire NFL. There isn't another guy on this defense that can say that. I love these pieces. If I found out tomorrow, or while we're doing this show, that the Chiefs gave Willie Gay Jr. a 3-year extension, I wouldn't be mad. In fact, I'd probably be a little happy as a fan. Because as Chiefs fans, we grew up accustomed to the Chiefs makers like that. If we heard during this show, L'Jarius Sneed got a 3-year extension, I'd be happy as a fan.
Hell yeah.
But is it good business? This is the transitioning of our thought process has to take place at some point as fans.
I don't
because
so,
we love our players. Yeah. I love Willie Gay Jr. I love L'Jarius Sneed. I love Nick Bolton. I love these guys. But if it comes down to it to where, hey, look, the Chiefs can save money, and we've seen Brett Veach adequately replace these guys,
Nick Bolton
and it's
going to
help.
Nowhere.
It's going to help the Chiefs win more Super Bowls. What are we choosing? Holding on to guys we like, and it may cost the Chiefs down the road from maybe adding more depth and winning another Super Bowl, or do we do the right thing, and it's hard, it's uncomfortable, it's controversial, it's unpopular, but it's going to help the Chiefs rack more championships up, because as we talked about just last offseason, how much it sucked to see Tyreek Hill get traded. Did that not help the Chiefs win another Super Bowl? It 100% did, because to the point of losing L'Jarius Sneed in that AFC Championship, the pieces you got back for Tyreek Hill were the ones that made the difference in a 3-point victory against a team that had owned the Chiefs beforehand.
Key contributors, yeah.
So this is right now, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because I know that there's fans out there that are going to disagree with this point. But I don't believe there is another guy on this defense that I am going to confidently pay for long periods of time outside of Chris Jones. Maybe I will be wrong, but I see the way Brett Veach drafts. I see the way that 67% of his draft picks over the last 3 draft classes have been on the defensive side, which means they have a plan in place to constantly rotate these skill players on the defensive side to continue to give Patrick Mahomes more opportunities on the offensive side to pay offensive line, to pay wide receivers, to pay tight ends, to pay Patrick Mahomes. You pay for offense, you draft for defense. I think Brett Veach and the Chiefs have adopted this mindset, and it's only benefited them in the long run. It's going to continue to benefit in the long run. That's where I stand on it. We'll see where it goes. Trevor, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts on L'Jarius Sneed being extended or not?
Well, any of these guys that I've named above, like for instance, Drew Tranquill, Mike Dana, Willie Gay Jr., L'Jarius Sneed, are any of these guys you want to see the Chiefs pay long term? And if so, how do you see them making sense of it? Are there multiple guys, or one guys, or no guys? Are you more on my side where there's none of these guys, or where do you stand on it?
Well, I mean, there's a couple guys on that list. Obviously, they need to prove it. Haven't been a part of this roster yet. The Drew Tranquills and Mike Edwards and guys like that haven't really played and been a part of this team to earn anything yet. But Willie Gay is you put it out there as an extremely talented, athletic guy that is a massive contributor to the success of this defense and the growth of this youth movement in this defense. And he's become, a veteran on this team, and like you said, could become a 2-time champion very soon. I don't pay corners though. I know L'Jarius Sneed, like we've discussed, his unique skill set. I'd rather him go elsewhere. I don't pay corners. I think that's alongside overpaying for running backs. I think it's the defensive equivalent to that is overpaying for cornerbacks. And as great as some of the best we've seen in this league get paid, once a lot of these great corners get paid, their trajectory goes down. A lot of their performances go down. And I'm not judging the character of these players, but there's something innate about you securing that bag and you've made it, and you no longer have that chip on your shoulder or that carrot on the stick to go after to accomplish. It just naturally kind of happens that way a lot of times in this league. And if you have lackluster and overpaid simultaneous cornerback play, you're destined to fail defensively. So I just don't pay cornerbacks. So L'Jarius Sneed, as much as I love him, as much as he's become a household name pretty much in this city for this team, I'm not going there. Craig, you said Chris Jones is the only guy that, like I said, he's the anchor of this defense and an anchor on this entire roster in that locker room. So he's the only guy I think that should secure the bag. But I will say a close second for me is Nick Bolton. I think Nick Bolton is a we just saw Roquan Smith get that bag, get the absolute huge contract. Well, I think one of the largest in NFL history for a linebacker. Yep. I think Nick Bolton is a similar player to Roquan Smith. I know he's not as good at this moment, but I think he's. I mean, look at the plays he's made already in the postseason in his young career. Defensive touchdowns. Should have had 2 in the Super Bowl. Yep. That's a guy that is the awareness and the instincts that he has. That's a guy I think is going to be a lifer here in Kansas City. That's one of the few guys I think on this defense that's going to be. We could talk about McDuffie, what he can possibly become. We still haven't truly seen it yet. We've seen bits and pieces, but we got to see a consistent congruency there with him, and obviously his health and staying healthy is a big part of that. But I like and I love what I've seen out of Nick Bolton his last couple seasons. I think he's one of those anchor guys, and he's becoming a captain of this team, similar to a DJ. How we all felt and loved about DJ. I think Nick Bolton is going to become, and the fact that he's a local kid too in Missouri just adds to the lure of what I think he's creating here in Kansas City and what his success in the postseason has already become, and the notable plays. In the postseason that he's already become. He has the internal fortitude to become that star, and he's a humble guy. He's not a wordy guy. He just kind of puts it out there and just says it with his game. And that's the only other guy outside of Chris Jones, I believe, on this defense that I think the Chiefs should do whatever it takes to keep him here. I think he's a vital piece to this defense, especially obviously in the locker room, the linebacker room. But I think he's just one of those lead by example kind of guys, and you don't let those kind of guys walk. I think like I said, I've compared him to Roquan Smiths, and I think he has that leadership mentality, and that's the only other guy outside of Chris Jones that I would pay in the future here whenever his contract is up. I think he's more than deserving of it. Willie Gay is a guy I would willingly, no pun intended, walk away from. I love his skill set. I love what he brings here, but like you said, his market is going to be higher and higher. And I think after this season, as long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to ball out this year. He's an absolute stud. Comes from a great college. Came into this league ready to play. He's anytime he's on the field, he's had some mishaps, but anytime he's on the field, the guy is out there. He's a gamer. He's a dog, and he's a rah guy. You love having those guys on your linebacker core because he's the opposite personality wise to Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton's more the quiet, humble, just get shit done kind of guy, and Willie Gay's that loudmouth guy that will also fuck you up at the same time and lay that wood and also play very well in coverage at times. So. Very versatile guy, and I think he will get paid this next offseason, but I don't think it will be in Kansas City. Leo Chenal, I'm excited to see the evolution of what he can possibly become in this offense or this defense as well. But outside of that, man, none of the other guys are really of note. Like I said, like Mike Edwards and Tranquil, those guys got to come out here and prove if they want to maybe stick around here a little longer. I'm excited to see that and how those guys fit into the mold here. And I'm with you. I would love to see L'Jarius Sneed find the Chiefs to find a way to keep him here because I absolutely love that guy. He's like you said, we've described his skill set is extremely unique and it fits this system perfectly. But we did draft a guy, a couple DBs in this recent draft, and a guy, Connor, a guy that has a similar skill set to him. So we'll see. We'll see how this year plays out. But in my mind, I think outside of Chris Jones, Nick Bolton for me is the only other, I believe, pillar on this defense that should be a long-term guy.
Like it.
Is the question what we want, what the Chiefs should do, or what we want them to do?
I think both. I mean,
your personal
opinion, like, what do you think the Chiefs should do? You know what I mean? Like, if you like, kind of like put yourself in the scenario of Brett Veach, based upon the tendencies he's gone off of, like doing all that, and then like coming to your conclusion, like, what would you like to see them do with these guys or any of them?
What I would like to see them do is sign them all to extensions. I mean, that's an easy, no-brainer question, but I think what the Chiefs should do is move on from each and every single one of them. It's a business at the end of the day. League is, and I'm sure a lot of these players understand that. Unfortunately, the fans don't understand that aspect of the sports teams in general. That goes to every single fan for any fan base, for any sports. At the end of the day, it's a business. It's a business decision. You always take what's cheap for you. Obviously, you always have that one player, those two players that you're going to extend. Obviously, try and make those the lifers, and I think the Chiefs have in Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce those guys. I think even Chris Jones himself, I think he's a piece that the Chiefs could potentially move on if he's too expensive. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I think that's what the business decision would be for the Chiefs. But I do think it's in their best interest to extend Chris Jones because obviously you can't replace a guy like that. It's very hard to find that kind of talent, especially nowadays, the way the league is, the way everything is, trying to find those transcendent talents. Obviously, you got your Aaron Donalds, your Chris Jones, and many other players, but it's hard to find. It's a lottery. It's a lottery pick with the draft, so you never know when you're gonna get them again. So yeah, it's in the best interest for the Chiefs to extend Chris Jones, but at the same time, like I said, the Chiefs already have their two main players in the roster in Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, especially with this team that is offensive heavy. I think that would be the main focus for them, and I can see the Chiefs trying not to pay Chris Jones what he's worth, but I don't see any other player being extended beyond Chris Jones. Just like you said, I would like to have them all extended, but at the end of the day, this is a business, and it sucks. It sucks. It really does, because you have really good players, but obviously being a Super Bowl champion and being a contender, you have these problems. You have these situations where you can't please all fans at all times. It sucks. But if I was to pay somebody out, like if I was to pick someone else, if I was Brett Veach, I would probably extend, like Trevor said, Nick Bolton. I think that he is that up and coming player that could potentially be a lifer here in Chiefs Kingdom and be that, I guess, that Chris Jones level-esque type of player once Chris Jones leaves the kingdom. I think Nick Bolton could be that guy to take the reins in that superstar realm in the defensive side. But obviously, I would love to keep Chris Jones here. I would like to keep all the players here, but unfortunately, there's a business.
If the Chiefs weren't contending for Super Bowls, I think that the Chiefs would have no choice but to try to extend some of these guys because you have to maintain.
You have to please the fans.
Yes, and now that the Chiefs have gone to a place now where you can, make your cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? Where they can hey, look, we can get you fan favorites. But we're also going to be contending for Super Bowl. So
we just won with the youngest defense in the
NFL. So fans can latch onto some of these younger, unproven commodities faster than you would if you're an 8-9 win team, and then you're not signing L'Jarius Sneed, you're not signing Willie Gay Jr., then you're replacing them with young guys. That's just going to piss a fan base off of a team that's not contending for Super Bowls.
And I think having Patrick Mahomes makes that decision a lot easier because obviously fans do get attached to other players, but having Patrick Mahomes and the amount of fans that he pulls himself. Even fans that don't have just any regular any team that they support, but that they follow the player. You know
it's
what I mean?
The Patriots way. It's the same thing the Patriots did.
Exactly.
We got Tom Brady, we got Gronk, we got
it justifies moving off.
It justifies moving on from guys like unfortunately Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, all these guys. Because you have your superstar athlete who is gonna bring those
the X factor.
Regardless of who you lose, you have that superstar player, and I think the Chiefs are very lucky in having Patrick Mahomes for that.
There's a fine balance too, because at the same time, because I 100% agree with that having Patrick Mahomes simplifies things for you, where you're like, well, we got to pay him, and he makes up for a lot. Yeah. He's the most valuable player in the league, best player in the league, all that stuff. But there's also a fine line too, where you don't want to get too arrogant or simplify it too much to where you think you can just move off of anybody. Because at the same time, guys like Chris Jones in this time and place play such a pivotal role, where I could say justifiably and confidently, Chris Jones is the Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs defense. Where you lose him, sure, you might be able to still win a Super Bowl. But we have yet to see the Chiefs win a Super Bowl without Chris Jones. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is there 2 Super Bowl victories where Chris Jones and he was playing at a very high level in both games?
Well, I mean, he didn't have a sack for the first Super Bowl and the second.
That's
Super Bowl,
true. But Chris Jones does things outside of just getting sacks. He bats balls down. He gets pressures. He tackles guys for losses. You saw that even in the San Francisco game. He didn't get a sack against Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was in the backfield all game long, causing havoc against an offensive line that otherwise was dominating other defensive linemen.
Well, in most defensive tackles at that position, you're not known for accumulating a bunch
That's
of
what seems to make him special.
Him and Aaron Donald are 2 very rare breeds at that position. I think they've spoiled the current fan base to what that kind of position is capable of.
There's only a handful of guys in that position ever. That's 15 sacks
not
a
a
year.
common stat for that
Warren
position.
Sapp was one of those guys.
Right.
He's a rare breed of defensive tackle. Yeah. Chris Jones, he's even more of a unicorn because he also can go out to D end. Not a lot of guys in his position at his size can go and play D end.
Right.
That isn't how it goes. And so my point is that yes, the Chiefs could say, hey, look, we're not going to pay Chris. Let's just move off. Let's get some picks for 2024. That is about as ill-advised as it gets, though. Because, sure, you can move off L'Jarius. Sure, you can move off Willie Gay. Why? Because the structure of what you have with Chris Jones makes that easier. So, you don't have to pay Tyreek Hill. You don't have to go and get Sammy Watkins back. You don't have to go and do all these other things because you have Patrick Mahomes. Same principle applies on the defensive side with Chris Jones, is that if you didn't have Chris Jones, you'd have to start changing your mentality at the cornerback position. You'd have to change your mentality outside linebacker because you don't have that guy in the middle that's raking havoc every single week. That's why I know Chris Jones is going to get his money, and that's why he's going to be here for the next 3 to 5 years. But when it comes to like Nick Bolton, I want to say this real quick because I have another topic I want to bring up when it comes to the Chiefs. When it comes to Nick Bolton, I do agree to an extent. I know we're getting kind of ahead of ourselves because I wanted to make more.
He's
paint
got
it.
another year.
Yeah, I wanted to paint it more for the guys that are here. But I think that just I want to say a little sidebar. That's praise to Brett Veach's drafting ability as well. That we have 13, 14 names we just listed off, and we're all comfortable saying we don't have to get any of these guys back.
Yeah.
Like that's praise to Brett Veach too, because we know that he can adequately replace these guys at any given time in the draft, free agency, whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, and the only reason I brought him up is just because that's the only guy I see on this defense current roster that I would pay and handsomely to keep on this roster.
And that's glad you brought him up, actually, because that is somebody that the Chiefs are going to have to start thinking about because in 2025, he will be a free agent.
Yeah.
And although Nick Bolton is a tackling machine, and I love me some Nick Bolton, he is a middle linebacker. Mm-hmm. And that is something you have to think about. Is that somebody you want to pay X amount of dollars to as a veteran player, no longer on a rookie deal? Is that really, because he might get you 100, 130 tackles a year, and that is super valuable. But if you go down the list of, okay, what is the most valuable positions on just your defense? DN, DT, safety, corner, and then it probably goes to middle or outside linebacker, obviously, and then it probably goes to middle linebacker. So you're looking at maybe the 6th, 7th most important position on your defense. How much is he going to demand, and how much are you willing to spend? Because I think Nick would obviously love to stay in Kansas City, obviously. But if he's going to demand $35 to $45 million on a 3 or 4 year deal, are the Chiefs really going to pay him? That's because middle linebackers are a lot like the running back of the defense, where you can rotate it out. Now, the good thing about Nick Bolton is he has solidified that position that no one else has done since Derek Johnson's prime years.
Yeah.
So that is the value he brings to the defense.
And by that time, I think Joe Tooney's contract will be expired, I believe, and they might be able to rework something smaller for him. So there'll be a lot of money off the books, I think, by that time. And so the only ones really getting paid on this roster by that time will most likely be Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's contract is, we all know, is pennies compared to what he should be making.
I think he's like the 4th highest paid tight end. Like, that's insane.
So our starting running back is still a 7th rounder. A lot of these guys are on the defense are on cheap contracts still will be at that time. Who knows what other free agents or other roster moves will make at that time that are on the cheap, or a couple other 1 year rentals. Who knows who will be there? So I think it'll be perfect time by that time his contract is up to pay him. I think he'll be able to make the money, and I think we'll find a way to keep him here.
Something to think about though. At the same time, Nick Bolton's contract will be up. Creed Humphrey's contract will be up, and Trey Smith's contract will be up.
Creed is going to get the bag.
Creed will probably get an extension this next offseason.
Probably, yeah.
He'll probably be the first one. But Trey, you have to start asking
center.
questions. Who's more valuable for the foreseeable future? Trey Pancake Papa Smith or Nick Bolton?
Yeah.
Creed. No, I'm saying between Trey and Nick Bolton, because Creed's getting his money. Creed will get paid.
That's a tough one.
But yeah, who's like the real question? I'm not even make a poll for that. Like, who would you rather for for 2025 to 2029? Who would you rather pay? Trey Smith or Nick Bolton?
Easy. Trey Smith.
I think for me it's Nick Bolton actually.
Mine's Trey Smith. Why? Because you got to protect your money back.
Yeah, I just feel the guard position is a little more replaceable than a stud middle linebacker in this league who's made some of the most pivotal plays in the postseason these past couple seasons, and in leading into the postseason. I mean that scoop and score against I forget who it was.
The Eagles.
Was it the Steelers? Who was it?
Nick,
that was arguably the biggest. He made arguably the biggest play in the Super Bowl this past.
That was the game-changing play.
You know what I mean? So things
but
like
the
that.
The Chiefs' offensive line also gave up 0 sacks.
Sure.
Trey Smith played a part of that.
Sure, but I think a guard position is a little more replaceable.
It's debatable. That's a good thought.
Then a stud linebacker in this league who's rising to be a star in this league.
And then again, Trey Smith is maybe one of the 10, 15 best guards in the league.
Sure.
That's an interesting debate, man. I'm gonna have to post a poll on that and see what the Chiefs fans are
next year
thinking.
We'll have to revisit that.
And actually, if you guys are watching or listening at any given time, let us know who would you guys rather see the Chiefs pay long term, Nick Bolton or Trey Pancake Papa Smith? Because I think that's something that I didn't even think about.
I love them both, man.
That's interesting because I think it is a foregone conclusion. You want to pay your center because of the fact that him and Patrick Mahomes have the camaraderie. He's young, insanely durable.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, outside of Jason Kelce, there's not a better center.
Trey Smith would most likely be cheaper as well. He probably wouldn't demand as much money. A guard, I don't think would demand as much money.
Then again, Joe Tooney got himself paid really nice on that left guard position.
But we've seen the market for middle linebackers in general going up. I mean, like I said, Roquan Smith just got.
Yeah, Roquan. I think he's better than Nick Bolton, though.
No, he is.
Yeah.
He is. But I'm saying, I think Nick's rising to maybe a tier right below him.
If Nick could add a dimension to his game where he could start playing better in pass pro,
his resume.
I hate to say this. I hate to say this. Drew Tranquil was brought in for a reason.
Sure.
Because Nick's not very good at pass
Nick
protection.
Sure.
Now, when it gets to getting to the quarterback, when it comes to tackling in the open field,
making big plays at pivotal
Nick,
moments.
Nick's insanely valuable.
He's already had multiple of those on his resume.
And he's made one of the most legendary plays in the history of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That scoop and score, as we said in the Super Bowl. That is the difference in that game.
Or that game,
Patrick Mahomes playing heroics.
What game was that
great,
when Melvin Ingram forced the ball and he took it to the
Broncos?
Crib? Yes.
They were on like the 7-yard line.
Yeah, that game. Flipped the whole game. The whole game. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he's made his
Drew Lock was
resume.
murdering the defense in that game.
Oh, that was
with all those rushing touchdowns and shit.
Was rough.
Drive me crazy, dude. And then Nick Bolton took him to the house.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Water Jackson out there.
It was pissing me off, man. Vanilla
worst.
Vic out there.
That was the worst.
25 yards every time.
Pissing me off, man. There's another Chiefs topic I wanted to bring up before we get to the Eddie Hour, and it's something that y'all can't ignore because it's now not just there are topics out there that we like to talk about, and you roll your eyes like, Lance, give it up, stop talking about this. I don't want to hear about it. But here's the thing, guys, it's not even me. This is the best part, Eddie, and I know you're going to enjoy this. So yesterday, we got a nice little tidbit from our guys at, let me look it up real quick. We got guys at around the NFL. I don't know if you guys follow that show. I'm a big fan of it. I love watching it on Saturday mornings before our show. They just kind of it's a nice podcast to listen to. It's a show that I just respect because they don't really feel commercialized. They're just like a bunch of buddies hanging out talking football, but they have a lot of connections. So Mark Sessler from Around the NFL had a tweet yesterday. Around the NFL actually tweeted it out, and it was Mark Sessler's article. The headline is, quote, "Trading for a big-time wide receiver is biggest remaining offseason priority for the Chiefs, per Mark Sessler," end quote. So, of course, I got a little stoked about that and decided to look into this article. And they have the list of all the top priorities for all the teams right now in the league that are still out there. According to this is what he said, quote, "Top priority, trading for big-time wideout. Many a breath was wasted last offseason fretting over a Chiefs attack suddenly missing Tyreek Hill. Andy Reid turns panic into production, and he'll do so again no matter who lines up at wide receiver. It felt like Kadarius Toney was beginning to bubble into a figure of wonder come the Super Bowl. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, Richie James, and rookie Rashee Rice will help fill the void by left Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Ross, who is a 6'4" item of intrigue too. But Kansas City rests in a unique spot. Player development is king, but trading for a plug-and-play star, maybe even Tampa's Mike Evans or the column's oft-mentioned DeAndre Hopkins, would keep the Mahomes machine a step ahead of the Bengals and Bills," end quote. Look, I've already added my thoughts and opinions on this.
I'm very aroused.
So I don't need to go back and to explain to you guys what I have said and what I have felt on this matter. I'm gonna let the pros tell you guys this stuff. That even after the Chiefs got Kadarius Toney in a trade last year, drafted Sky Moore last year, and then traded up to get Rashee Rice in this draft class, they are still of the belief that the Chiefs need to go and get a top-tier wide receiver. You know why? Because they do, and two, those guys are out there. I don't believe that Mike Evans is going to be a guy that gets traded. At least maybe not for the. I can see by week 7, the Bucs are like 2-5, and they're like, look, let's get Mike Evans an opportunity to go win elsewhere. He's given us Hall of Fame numbers and production. He's helped us win a Super Bowl. Let's do right by Mike and let him in his was he 30 years old? Let's go see if a team would be willing to go and get him another contract or something of that nature. I would be open-minded to that, very much so, if they can go get Mike Evans. But I'm going to stay consistent with what I've been saying all along, that I think that DeAndre Hopkins is the perfect piece to the equation for the Chiefs. I still think that trade or the signing will take place, whether they get him on a June 1st cut or they ultimately do trade for him and give future picks up or a pick to get DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's going to happen. Now, I know Chiefs fans are going to sit here and say this because I've been seeing it nonstop. Lance, you don't want to take on that money. Do you guys understand the guaranteed money that's on DeAndre Hopkins' contract will not play into the Chiefs' cap hit?
Right. That
will not happen. If they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, they would take on the $19 million this year. But they can also restructure that and soften that dollar amount if they give him another year on the contract. More than likely, what's going to happen is the Chiefs are going to get him in free agency, because I do believe he's going to get cut by the Cardinals, because they know that there's no real trade assets out there unless some team swoops in and gives the Cardinals what they want. But we've seen all offseason that's not been a reality. Why is a team going to change their mind and give up future picks for a guy that's going to be a year older next year? I don't see that being a reality. I still think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to get cut, and the Chiefs are going to swoop in and give him a nice low-based, high incentive-based contract, and then he will be the wide receiver one for this team right now. But there are other options out there. I know that Brandon Ayuk is a guy that people have been experimenting on or thinking on. I don't think that's a reality because of the fact that I think the 49ers understand what they have in him. They have him, I think, on 2 more years. I think that with the control of a 25-year-old receiver like him, I don't see the Niners giving him up for anything less than a first-round pick, and I don't think the Chiefs are giving up a first-round pick for Brandon Ayuk. So I think he's out of their market. I think he's too rich for their market. I think it comes down to 2 guys. I think it's DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Evans, and I think there's only one realistic option, and you guys know it's D-Hop. Trevor, what are your thoughts on this recent article?
You already know I'm on the train, man. I'm on the D-Hop train. It hasn't stopped yet. June's coming up. You know what I mean? So there's a definite move that could definitely be made. If he does end up getting cut from the Cardinals, I mean, I think the Chiefs make the most sense on both sides for the Chiefs and for D-Hop. I think we are on the short list of teams he would like to join. I would fully believe that, and I think he's made that clear in certain cryptic or so statements. Yeah, he's the only receiver out there that I would really, really want the Chiefs to go get. If Mike Evans ended up getting moved and he ended up being a Chief, I'd be ecstatic about that as well. He'd bring in a different dynamic to this offense with his size and speed capabilities. But I think the skill set of DeAndre Hopkins would fulfill a massive, not a massive need, but a need that we probably didn't know we had on this offense right now. I think you put him into this offense, that would change things. That would make the dynamics of this offense that much more deadly, that much more potent, and it would give Patrick Mahomes that true number one wide receiver that can do it all, and has done it all his whole entire career. So with terrible quarterback play, and you lock him up with arguably the greatest to ever do it, you're destined for success. So this is a no-brainer for me. If he ends up getting cut come early June, it makes all of the sense for the Chiefs to be aggressive and go after him and get him on this roster. So yes, I am 100% in on that one.
Well, we don't even need to ask Eddie because I know he's 100% on too. So, no, Eddie, let's get your thoughts on this, because I think that we obviously know where we stand on the potential of this, but because of the fact this continues to get brought up at the national level and he's being named in it exclusively, that is something we can't ignore. If I'm just sitting here bringing up fan theory, that's one thing. But if we're actually seeing substantial reporting from adequate people that are connected at the ground floor with these teams, this isn't something that we can ignore anymore. And I think because of the fact that's out there, that also means there's interest on both sides. I've told you guys what I've heard personally, but it doesn't even matter at this point what I'm hearing or what I'm saying. It's about what we're hearing from them at the top. What are your thoughts on this, Eddie? Do you think this is a reality, whether it's a trade or signing, or are you still standing on the side you don't think it's going to happen?
It's not going to happen. John Hopkins, that ship sailed.
Why?
Before the draft. Because if they were going to trade for DeAndre Hopkins, I think that the Cardinals would have traded him before the draft just so they can start do the rebuild, help with the rebuild, not wait a whole year later to be able to use that draft capital. So it makes no sense on the Cardinals' standpoint as to why would you wait till after the draft and trade him. So I can see him being potentially traded after this season. More than likely, I see next offseason being a big market for DeAndre Hopkins and him being traded away from the Cardinals. I think if the Cardinals really wanted to trade him, it would already happen. It's no.
You don't think he get cut by June 1st?
I think he's going to play with Arizona.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Just go with me on this. If you're a team like Arizona, you know they're going to be bad next season, right? We all know they're not a playoff team. They're probably going to win at most 5 games. If you're that organization and you're building for the future, what would you rather have? A 30-year-old wide receiver that's going to make almost $20 million next year, or a 5th-round pick?
Give me the 30-year-old. For the simple fact that they need people in those seats. They don't have anybody that can bring fans to the seats other than DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray's out potentially for the season. They need that star player. They need DeAndre Hopkins desperately. Like I said, if the Cardinals really wanted to shop DeAndre Hopkins, I think they would have done it before.
No, they were shopping him. That's the question. They just weren't getting what they wanted in return.
So, I mean...
But does that not say that maybe their standards are a little too high as far as what they thought they were going to get?
Potentially. I mean, that's every team. Every team values their players differently. Obviously, me and you can value Patrick Mahomes at a superstar level, and other teams are like, we'll probably give you 2 first. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how they value. Like, other teams just value players differently than what you value players.
And when all other 31 teams don't value that player at the place you're thinking he is, that might mean it's a you problem.
Yeah, but the best situation would be like, well, I mean, I still control 2 years of his life, technically. I still control 2 years. So I have the final say, you know what I mean? So I don't get what I want this year. Next year, I'll go and obviously I'll drop the price a little bit. And obviously, we're still in rebuild mode, but I can use him this year to bring people to the seats since I don't have my quote-unquote superstar quarterback.
Let me ask you a question about this. Remove DeAndre Hopkins out of it. Okay, let's scrap him out of it real quick. Let's say Mike Evans. Would you be open-minded to that?
Would I be open-minded to that?
Yeah. Do you think there's a possibility for that one?
I don't know. I mean, I guess. I think it's just the same possibility as DeAndre Hopkins. I think, but the situation with Tampa Bay is, I don't know, it's a little different, I think.
I think it's just as cloudy as Arizona's. And they actually have more rapport with their fan base than Arizona does because they just won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. You know what I'm saying? And there's more of a justification to move off of a guy like that, like Mike Evans.
They're in a winnable division, though. There's a chance they can still win that division with Baker.
Yeah, with Baker, yeah. I
mean, not likely, but there's
we don't know
but they
what
still have a
Bryce
chance.
Young. We don't know what Bryce Young is. We've seen the videos of Bryce Young and that offensive line. And
well, let's not forget the Saints either. Yeah, the Saints have a very good quarterback, and they have a very good defense.
They have a good quarterback. I would say very good.
I would say Derek Carr is a top 12 quarterback in this league.
Yeah.
He's in the same class as Kirk Cousins,
his
Dak
number,
Prescott.
You can't deny his numbers.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl winning team.
I'm not saying he's a terrible quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a very good quarterback. I'm saying he's a good quarterback. Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying though is that okay. When I'm asking the general question I'm trying to ask, though, do you believe the Chiefs need help wide receiver?
No.
Okay. So who's the wide receiver one on this team right now?
Kadarius Toney.
Based on what?
Based on what the Chiefs see in the potential in him.
I mean, he's not making any money yet, so they haven't invested anything.
Right, but what do we know off of Kadarius Toney that tells us he's a wide receiver one?
He has the potential to be the wide receiver one.
I mean, it's Travis Kelce's wide receiver one if we're being technical.
Yeah. Sure.
Not non-technical.
I'm saying of the wide receiver room. Like, what do we have? This is the point I've been making for 3 months now. What do the Chiefs have in this room that is proven that is wide receiver one potential or wide receiver one material? Nothing. We have nothing. Kadarius Toney does have the potential. Yeah. I think the Chiefs would like to see him turn into wide receiver one, but he's not that yet. That's the point I'm making. The Chiefs need sure things on the offensive side to win more Super Bowls.
And I like the narrative that when the draft came around, when we drafted Rashee Rice, who I like a lot, and I've grown to like more and more as I've watched this film, as far as in this offense goes, his direct comparison even out of his own mouth was DeAndre Hopkins. And a lot of people are like, oh, they got their D-Hop. They don't need to go get D-Hop. That lit the fire. That stoked the fire even more for me for them to go get D-Hop, to have him as a direct veteran presence that can show him how to translate that similar skill set that DeAndre Hopkins has to flourish in this league. I think it makes more sense to go get D-Hop now more than ever.
Right.
That way he can be his direct mentor.
And 2022, I think, has changed the mentality for Chiefs fans in a negative way too. Not a negative way, but like I think in a misguided way. The reason why I say that is
it spoiled us. We think we can overachieve with
that's my point.
Lack of talent.
Like we were just talking about a few minutes ago about Patrick Mahomes and like if you move off of certain players, like he still can overcome that because he's just that
That's
great.
not what you want though.
Yeah, you don't want to make his job harder. You want to make his job easier.
You want to put more pressure on the opponents.
If you're not going to spend money on the defensive side, let's say one player on your entire defense is making substantial money, Chris Jones, right? Then on the offensive side, you got to spend just as much money. So you got to make sure, like we talked about, Trey Smith, we want to give him that extension. Why? Because it protects Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so you also want to give him a better receiving options. So if I know in a perfect world scenario that Kadarius Toney could become wide receiver 1, then yeah, I don't need to spend that money. But if I look at him right now and say, okay, this guy's 23, 24 years old, he's missed 15 games in 2 seasons, I'm worried about his health and availability. He's also undersized. I don't know if I can believe this guy can give me 16, 17 games next season and the postseason to trust his body and availability. Travis Kelce will be 34 in the second month of the season. We need more proven commodities. Let's go and spend money. Let's go get a guy that we know can do that for this year. And then Rashee Rice, like Trevor said, can turn into potentially that guy. And then Kadarius Toney can potentially turn into that guy. And then Sky Moore in year 3 can turn into a guy like that. Because ideally, you want those guys to be your depth pieces. Like I said after the draft, if Rashee Rice is the Chiefs wide receiver 5, then they crush this offseason. But right now, as it stands, people are trying to make it sound like he's going to be wide receiver 3 or 4. And that's absurd to me because we know in the Andy Reid system, rookie wide receivers never, ever do big things. They develop in time, and then year 2, 3, and 4, they turn into something usually, more times than not. Especially if they have it in him, like Tyreek Hill. He had a solid rookie season. We saw in year 2, year 3, and year 4, he turned into a star.
He never drafts star receivers, though, really. He never really drafts high draft picks for
But Tyreek Hill was. They got him as a steal in the 5th round because of things off the field.
It still wasn't a high pick.
But I'm saying, yeah, it was
I'm
still
saying
fifth.
if Tyreek Hill didn't have
the
only reason.
I get it, but it
wasn't a high investment.
Yeah. No, I'm not going off of what if. He was graded as a first-round pick.
But he wasn't picked in the first.
Because of things outside of football.
I'm saying that's an if thing. That's an if thing. It ended up happening being a later round.
It was a low investment still.
Yeah, absolutely. My point, though, is they did draft a star. They got a steal. That's why Tyreek was a steal, because we all knew he was really a first-round grade, had stuff on. It's like Justin Houston. He smoked some weed, dropped from the 1st to 3rd round. He fell into Chiefs' lap in the 3rd round, became a Hall of Fame edge rusher. So the point I'm making is the Chiefs still have a lot of needs on the offensive side when it comes to skill position. Even though they have depth, young depth, cheap depth, that doesn't justify just throwing that out there. All right, Patrick Mahomes, you won a Super Bowl with a bunch of young wide receivers. You can go do it again. Because even to that point, you had Juju Smith-Schuster. You don't have him anymore. Yeah. That guy's gone. He was your safety blanket. Yep. Thank you, Trevor. He was the guy you could rely on to go out there and get those 5 to 10 yards.
Shit, go get 9 catches in the second half of the Super Bowl, yeah.
MVS was a solid, once every 9 weeks kind of guy to make a big play or big game. You don't want that being your wide receiver, too. Sorry. MVS is a good, deep burner kind of guy that could show up every once in a while. Yep. Fine. You paid for him. You still have a need there. Could these young guys, we talk about all the time, the potential of what these young guys could become, but they haven't become that yet. And if you're trying to rack up another championship in the prime years of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones, you can't afford to not go out there and spend on guys like DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, I just can't afford to not. I don't even understand why anyone would be against making that move. It's a win-win for the Chiefs. I mean, we're not going to be ended up paying that much for him. He's a Hall of Fame talent wide receiver, and we are on the path to winning another championship. We're trying to win championships here. It makes more sense. The Chiefs will benefit more from the DeAndre Hopkins move than the Cardinals keeping DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, you want to sell tickets? Cool. We want to win championships, and he would be a massive piece to doing so. They have no aspirations to winning any Super Bowl in any time soon in Arizona.
And to your point, and to that point, I think that DeAndre Hopkins is a star in this league. But I don't think he's the kind of guy or garners enough attention for him to add another 10,000 butts in the seats at Arizona. I don't think that's that, especially if you're a bad team in a warm place like that where there's other things to do. I think if you're bad, you're just going to be bad and people are going to come anyway. I think if DeAndre Hopkins, if he plays with Colt McCoy next year for half the year, do you really think his numbers are going to be big? No, he'll have good, decent numbers and he's that awesome, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things, him being out there is going to justify people going out and spending on season tickets. I got to go see DeAndre Hopkins play. Yeah, we'll be a foreign 13 team.
Let's go watch McSorley play.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's going to be enough. Now, if they had Kyler Murray was healthy and had no wide receivers, people are going to go out there because Kyler Murray is a quarterback, spectacle. Yeah. He'll do exciting plays, things of that nature, based on the draft capital that the Cardinals used on him. He's a franchise guy. DeAndre Hopkins is not viewed as their franchise guy. He's viewed as a guy that came in here to be a wide receiver to help them win immediately. That didn't happen. He was a rental in their eyes.
And plus, I think we are leaving out the element of DeAndre Hopkins' wants and needs as well. We don't know the discussions that are happening with him in the front office. He wants to win. Do you think DeAndre Hopkins himself personally wants to waste another year of his career on a team that's shit? I don't think so. I think he'd rather go try to play on a team that wants to win, and he needs to finish off his career and cap off his Hall of Fame season or career with some jewelry. And I think his best opportunity to do that is in Kansas City or maybe Buffalo and other teams. But Buffalo's reportedly not making any moves for him. But if he does get cut, I think he's going to try to go to another team that's going to win a Super Bowl or has a chance to win a Super Bowl. And I think it makes the most sense for him personally. I think we keep leaving out that element of. I know he came out and said, why did I ever say I wanted to leave? He knows he has no chance of winning any Super Bowl in Arizona this year or next year or the year after that. We need to understand that element of this conversation.
Go ahead,
too.
I'm saying, but we also have to understand that he's still under contract. So
yeah, sure.
Until I see him being cut, I mean, I can't really. Because the Cardinals control whatever it is.
Let's not act like these star players in the NFL have not forced their way out of teams.
Well, and also this. Let's not pretend like the Cardinals haven't made it obvious they want to move off of him.
Right.
They've been trying to trade him.
They're trying to deal him all off.
So if they can't trade him, then like, all right, well, what's our best option? Not keeping him on our books. We're trying to get rid of him. Let's cut him and save the $19 million.
I mean, the GM came out and said that we're not trading him.
They're saying that to up his value, Eddie. Like that's GM speak.
They don't have to trade him.
They say, oh no, we want him so badly. Then it seems like, oh shit, maybe we missed our window. Hey, Arizona, all right, we'll give up the 2nd and 4th round pick for him.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
boom.
save $19 million at the same time.
Exactly. Like that's clearly because we didn't hear that until after the fact.
Yeah.
This was during the draft when we heard them say those things. It wasn't the previous 8 weeks.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like I said, I think if the Cardinals really wanted to trade him, it would have happened before the draft.
Eddie, if somebody came up and offered the Cardinals a 2nd round pick, he's not on the Cardinals right now. You do realize that. Nobody offered him that. That's the point. That's the only reason he's still on their roster. It isn't because no, we're not giving him up no matter what. That's literally been peddled out there from all reporters and sources. They were trying to get a 2nd round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. If a team would have offered that, regardless of who that team was, they would have taken it.
Yeah.
So it's not that they didn't want to trade him or they weren't going to move off him. It was the fact they didn't get what they wanted in return. So it isn't whether they want to get rid of him or not. They clearly do because his contract structure, his age, everything else doesn't make sense for where they're at.
Yeah, that should tell you that DeAndre Hopkins has no control over him leaving Arizona.
I mean, I don't know how you can think that at this point. How many players have had leverage?
Because if that was the case, they would have accepted any trade with the 4th or fifth round pick.
No,
it's got to be a win for them, though.
Yeah, that's got to work out for both sides.
That's what I'm saying. You're making it seem like it's just DeAndre Hopkins.
No. I never once said that.
I was
never
making
once
an
said
argument
that.
just a second ago, just because I think we keep leaving out that element of whether he wants to be there or not. 'Cause there players have leverage as well.
To that point, what if DeAndre Hopkins this offseason said, hey, I want to stay in Arizona. Yeah. I want to be. You think that's going to influence the Cardinals to not want to trade him then? Like, he has pull in this. Yeah. But because of the fact, like Trevor said, he wants to win, and the Cardinals can't provide him that, and they can't give him that right now because they're not in a place to win, then they're going to lean more on the side of, hey, look, let's get him. And like, it's no different than like with the Lions. It's like the Lions with Matt Stafford. Yeah. Like they knew, like, dude, we're not going to win anytime soon. Yeah, like we knew, like we're not going to be in a position to win for a while. Yeah. Matt Stafford's getting older. He's given us some time. He's really put in the work. Let's get him an opportunity to win. They traded him in the NFC to a team that can contend and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, or even on the extreme other side with the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill. We are a championship caliber team, and we still let him walk. And we still did right by him. Yeah. You know what I mean? So even teams that the Cardinals aren't even in a position to be winning games.
The Chiefs literally traded Tyreek to where he wanted to go. They had a better offer with the
team.
Jets. Yeah. And they still traded him to the Dolphins. So teams, what I'm saying is, teams like the Cardinals who have to build from the ground up now need to make good business moves with veteran players because guys like DeAndre Hopkins are very popular across the league. Yeah. And if the Cardinals in the future are trying to sign a free agent defensive lineman or somebody like that, and they're friends with DeAndre Hopkins, they effed him over. Do you really think that guy's going to that team? No. That's how it goes all the time in the NFL.
The Chiefs had to deal with that too when we did to Justin Houston and guys like that. We hurt our reputation. We'd have to fix that.
Yeah, and the repairing of that relationship would only benefit the Chiefs, as I've been saying for how long now.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that there was a squandering between those two, having Justin Houston on this team is very unlikely, and that sucks because he'd be an upgrade to Frank Clark. He'd be an upgrade to a lot of guys they've had on this team over the last 3 years at that position. So that's the point, Eddie, is you don't want to have bad blood in the league with a premier player. That's why if you trade DeAndre Hopkins to a team that he can win with, do you really think he's going to go out there and trash you when he's talking to his buddies across the league at Pro Bowls and things of that nature? No way. But no, they did me right. They paid me good. We had a chance to win in 2020 and 2021. Didn't happen, but they did me right in 2022 offseason. They traded me or cut me. That's how it goes, man. It's business. So I would love to hear people's thoughts on this because, again, this is not me conjuring this up.
I mean, shit,
This
Aaron
isn't my
Rodgers
theory.
got Green Bay. I mean, if that can happen.
Yeah, this isn't my theory here. This isn't me saying that, hey, Mark Sessler, go out and put this article out there. Like, this is me reacting to what is being brought out there just within the last 24 hours. We'll see what happens, but I don't think there's any debate at all that the Chiefs need to be aggressive and going and getting another wide receiver, add to this room, and make these other guys right now that are going to have seemingly a lot of pressure on this year to kind of let them ease their way into it. I mean, honestly, the clock hasn't even started. June 1st is when the clock starts, baby. Because if he gets cut that day, I guarantee you within a week to 2 weeks, he'll be in Kansas City or Buffalo. I know Buffalo probably won't make that happen because Stephon Diggs' contract coming up, things like that. I think that the Bills are out of DeAndre Hopkins, but that is a team that he could go and win with.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs are the best team, most suitable team for DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm not off that hill until I see him in another uniform. I just won't do it. Yeah. Until I know the Cardinals won't cut or trade him, we know that for sure, or he is in another uniform elsewhere, I'm not getting off that hill because I do believe there is a very, very significant chance we will see DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City come July. We'll see how it goes, though, man, and let us know what your guys' thoughts are. I know you guys are exhausted by it, but this is still news. It's still something we have to talk about because it's a premier name, and the Chiefs are the Super Bowl. They're the class of the NFL. And if you can get a player like that, it only makes sense. Imagine the Cowboys right now being the Chiefs, where they've been contending like this for the last 5 years, and DeAndre Hopkins' name out there. That'd be the top story on ESPN and every other sports network out there for every single day. Just like Aaron Rodgers. The moment we heard about the Jets being interested in him, was that not the top story every single day? Lamar Jackson, every single day. We know this is how the news cycle goes. We know there are things out there, and there's always smoke where there is fire, and we'll see how this goes. Man, I'm excited about it. But let's get to the Eddie Hour, because I think this is a good time to kind of break free of the Chiefs stuff and talk about whatever else is going on in the sports world, whether it's NFL, NBA, MMA, UFC, whatever we got going on. Eddie, it's your time. You let us know what's going on, man.
You took one of my questions early. Obviously, I was going to ask you, who was Jim Brown, for those who didn't really know him, who didn't really get to see him play. Obviously, paying some kind of homage. I know Lance got his thoughts away. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
I mean, the guy blazed the trail for so many. I mean, you talk about the time he was in. You've seen the epic pictures of him and Muhammad Ali and all those legendary players with Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those legendary press conferences those guys would do. They paved the way for the greatest athletes to make their way into these sports. And so many great African American athletes that have been a part of this world and made life-changing money, generational wealth for their families because of these individuals. I can't relate to it directly because that's not my lineage, that's not my heritage. But for those that do, I mean, how could you not have a high level of admiration for men that did those things? And he was one of the main ones. And the guy lived a life. The guy had purpose in his life. That's something that a lot of people go through their daily, lives, and they don't have any real purpose and they're aimless. And this guy had a purpose, and he succeeded at everything he did. He created a big family. He comes from a loving big family, and he changed the world. He's one of those few men that changed the world and contributed to the greatest changes in the conglomerate that is the NFL. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, there's not much more you can say about that guy. What he did, his numbers are insane. He did, he won. He was before his time, honestly, as far as his skill set, what he was able to do, and he completely changed the running back position. Was so dominant in his era. I think he's one of those few guys that we can say that can play in any era at that position. Yeah, I mean, the guy was successful at everything he did. A very well-spoken man, a smart man, an incredible athlete, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Well-respected among all his peers. Anybody who was around that man there was never a bad thing to say about him. So that's a tough thing to do. Being in the spotlight as long as he was, that's a tough thing to say, to not have any real negative attachments to you in your career. Always been a stand-up guy and humble guy, and a true leader of his time and his era. And a lot of people have a lot of thanks that they should give him for what he did and changed the path for a lot of these young modern athletes. So that's about it, man.
I mean, you want to talk about Trevor said he changed the running back position. I would say he said it.
Invented it.
He made it what it is because look at this. The man, his rookie season was in 1957, right? Yeah. This is back when they were not throwing the ball. Yet, in just a 9-year span, he had 2,500 receiving yards. Like, think about how insane that is.
So stupid.
As a running back. Not to mention the fact that in total, his total yards from scrimmage, rushing and receiving, 14,811, and had 126 touchdowns in 9 seasons.
That's ridiculous.
He retired before he turned 30, and he did this. Like, you're 100% correct, Trevor. Way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
6'2", 240-pound running back. That's Derrick Henry.
He could have played.
That is
any
literally
era,
Derrick
man.
Henry.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I mean, it's he had. What was it? The lowest amount of rushing yards he ever had in a season was his rookie year with 942, and had 9 touchdowns rushing that year. Also added another receiving touchdown there. So he had 10 total touchdowns and almost 1,000 total yards in his rookie season. Oh, and by the way, 12 games.
Yeah.
By the way, he didn't have
back when they
16-game
had 12,
schedules, 17-game schedules that year. The most he ever played in a season was 14 games. And this dude was averaging, he literally averaged 1,100 yards for his career every per season.
And he was a receiving running back, too, which was crazy because back then there wasn't a lot of throwing to running backs at that time. He was just so incredible. They're just like, we need to get the ball in this guy's hands no matter what way we got to do it, man.
Anybody that has not watched any video or footage of Jim Brown, please go do that today.
Not the clearest
go on
footage,
YouTube,
but,
after our show, of course. Go to YouTube and just look up Jim Brown highlights, and it looks like literally like your older uncle out there playing on Sundays with you and the kids, just stiff arming dudes, little guys out there. No one can touch this man. Now it'd been a lot harder for him to be great in this era because it's a lot better quality athletes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would not have shocked me at all if Jim Brown a couple times in his career in this era wouldn't led the league in rushing, wouldn't have led the league in rushing touchdowns or total touchdowns. He would. I really believe he'd be Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
that's what he would be. And today, and how great Derrick Henry is. You guys know I love him. That's what Jim Brown would have been. Just an absolute dominant force, man. So it sucks we lost him. Got to live a full life.
The guy lived a life.
87, almost 88 years old. I mean.
Yeah.
He about accomplished everything you could want to accomplish in
going
your
through
life.
the grueling process of that NFL career that he had and living that long and having the wherewithal, always being a well-spoken guy, and and he died peacefully too. That's the good thing. It wasn't tragic. There wasn't something that happened. He died peacefully in his sleep at his home. You know what I mean? That's if anybody wants to go out, I think that's the ideal way to go out. You know what I mean? So the guy had his resume is incredible. What he's done with his life, and being a spokesperson for racial inconsistencies.
One more thing to add: he also has the highest yards per rush in NFL history.
Still,
so, just an absolute animal. You know who actually ties him with that?
Jamal Charles.
Nick Chubb.
Oh yeah, it is currently. Oh yeah, he did.
Jamal's right behind him, 5.1. But
true.
Nick Chubb, 5.2.
Ironically, another Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Nick Chubb's incredible. By the way,
dude. Well, Nick Chubb's only played 6 years, 7
No,
years.
it's not even been 6. I think it's 5, 6, 5-6 years.
2017 was his first year, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible. But man. What a guy.
Any personal accolades?
Oh, I think he won MVP a couple of times too, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I know he obviously was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he won MVP a couple years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Let me look up his accomplishments.
Off the top of my head, I'm not even sure exactly what.
I mean, he won the rushing title like 4 times.
Yeah.
Accolades.
he was the NFL there, man.
He averaged 104 rushing yards per game in his career. Is the only player in NFL history to average 100 yards rushing per game for his career. He was enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He was named the NFL's 50th, 75th, and 100th anniversary all-time team, comprising the best players in NFL history. Let's see here. He owns most major NFL rushing records to this day, widely considered the best running back and arguably the best player in the history of the sport. He's still a player in NFL history, like you said, 100 yards per rushing, 100 yards. I mean, you got to think about how difficult that is because was it like LaDainian Tomlinson and Marshall Faulk and guys like that averaged like 83 rushing yards per game, and you're thinking like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. And this dude was averaging over 100 per game. At the time of his retirement, Brown owned most NFL rushing records. I'm trying to find what records those are, but the fact is, I mean, like I said, in a 9-year span, only like Barry Sanders could even compare.
Yeah.
Like really, only Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders had more rushing yards because Barry Sanders was probably the overall better running back. He was more agile, quicker, more skilled. But Jim Brown was just he was like a train on a football field. Like you're not getting his way. He's going to run you over. He's what Bo Jackson could have been. Like Bo Jackson was a freak athlete, but got injured, and he just never saw everything.
He left and played another. He played another sport as well. Too.
Yeah.
If Bo Jackson just focused his whole life on football, we're probably talking about the best football player of all time.
Or baseball. I mean, my
true.
God.
Yeah, baseball. He was incredible. Like
he was on a team with George
Brett.
He was taking the attention. Like, think about that.
I think
man.
he's the greatest athlete of all time. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're on a team with George Brett and you're getting the focus. Like, you're the guy that gets the attention. Yeah. Throwing Harold Reynolds out from the freaking wall.
Yeah.
Like Harold. There's
breaking
a video.
bats
you go,
of
go watch
your
it.
knee.
Harold Reynolds, who's one of the fastest guys in the league, is rounding second, going to third. Bo Jackson's just getting the ball at the freaking wall that's like 385 feet away on a rope throws Harold Reynolds out at home. It's one of the most insane things. Or the video when he catches the ball and runs up the side of the wall, like spider, just like
some Matrix shit.
What the hell is wrong with this guy, man?
He's the one.
Or the home run in the All-Star game hit like 530 feet. I'm kidding. It was like 530-foot home run. It's just nuts.
Spooky, man.
Yeah. So like Jim Brown, guys like that, they're icons for a reason. Like they're almost like bigger than life. And that's what he was. He was way ahead of his time. Yep. It kind of sucks that he was ahead of his time like that because I feel like fans today would really appreciate what he was.
Well, he was put in time in the perfect place and time when he was there, though, because of what he did on and off the field.
Yeah, that's true.
Guys, he joined forces with the other greats to blaze the trail for others and who knows if he wasn't around to be a part of what the NFL might have taken him that much longer for the NFL to evolve and other sports to evolve and hear other minorities out. So yeah. He's a big part of that.
The rushing title has his name, right?
Yeah, it's the Jim Brown rushing. Yeah.
It's the Jim Brown Award, I believe.
That's crazy. He was alive to see that being named after him. That's crazy. All right, let's stick with football. Alex Smith, Lance's favorite quarterback, questions that defensive head coaches can develop a quarterback. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I heard about this. I didn't see the whole quote, so I don't want to misrepresent Alex's stance, but from just a general thought, yeah, I agree with everything he's saying. It's been proven in the league. Like, look at right now. Like, I think the biggest reason why defensive coaches have been getting so many jobs over the last 20 years at the head coaching position because of Bill Belichick. Yep. And Bill Belichick is a defensive genius.
Although I think D'Amico Ryans has a really good shot here.
Sure, there are going to be exceptions. Like John Harbaugh is a special team head coach.
Robert Saleh, I think.
You know what I mean? Like guys like that. Every once in a while, you're going to get those guys. That's just bound to happen. But if you look across the league as currently constructed over the last 10 years, all the best coaches outside of Bill Belichick have been. You have like your Mike Tomlin, and then you have your Andy Reeds and Sean Paytons and all these other guys. Like you'll have your outliers. Yeah. Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick are those outliers. But the vast majority of the best head coaches in the league are offensive-minded coaches because we know the structure of a winning football team is your quarterback has to be established first. How many teams in the NFL right now are winning on a consistent basis with mediocre quarterback play? None.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes. All the best teams have the best quarterbacks. And all those teams outside of the Bills have have an offensive-minded head coach. Yep. And how ironic is it? The Bills have been a disappointment. They've been hyped up and hyped up and hyped up, but Josh Allen and McDermott, they don't align.
Situational football.
Yes, they don't align. And the best we ever saw of the Bills was when they had who as offensive coordinator? Brian Dable, who's now coach of the year from the Giants. Yeah. Is that not ironic to anybody? Like, think about that.
Just got the best out of Daniel Jones, got his ass paid.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's being shown. So Alex Smith is not talking out of his ass here. In fact, I agree with almost everything Alex Smith says. I wasn't a big fan of the way he played, but the man is an intellect.
Why do you think his best years were with Andy Reid? You know what I'm saying? Like the development in Kansas City was his best years.
His best seasons statistically were not with Jim Harbaugh, who's a defensive-minded coach. Right. It was with Andy Reid, like Trevor said. That's when Alex Smith was at his best and played at his best. So it's without question. Alex is speaking from experience, and he's speaking from just the historics and the facts of what we see every single day. It may have worked back in the Mike Ditka days. It may have worked back in the Jim Brown days.
Because it was a defensive first game at that time.
Yeah, you want to build great defenses, obviously, no matter what era you're in. But who's leading the way? You want to have a guy that is in line and in sync with your quarterback, because that is how you're going to win in today's NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Smith, say what you want about him as a player. He was a solid player, but never was a great player. But the guy is he's an intellectual.
Yes.
A very well-spoken guy, very smart guy, and knows the game very well. I think could become a coach at some point. Or I enjoy him when he's on the panels on ESPN. He's incredible, man. He's really fun. He's very well-spoken and eloquent when he speaks. So I appreciate that about him. And just an extremely likable guy. How could you not like the individual? Right. He's just a great guy. Comes from humble beginnings and was always a good player and everything. There's nothing you can point that you just don't like about the guy. So when he says something, I think people listen. You know what I mean? So I think an intellectual like that, who obviously played the sport for a long time, had many, many different experiences with many, many different coaches throughout his career, which was obviously a downfall to a lot of his success or what could have been success for him in his career. He didn't have consistency. So he's experienced a lot with defensive-minded coaches and offensive-minded coaches. And I think, like we just said, Andy Reid brought the best out of him. because he knew his skill set, and offensive-minded coaches see what their strengths and weaknesses are of the quarterback. And in the way the game has evolved, obviously it's more of an offensive game at this point. So I think coaches that can identify that and their strong suit is also offense, they can get the best out of their offensive players, and that is shown to be the key to success in the modern era of football. And I think Alex Smith is on point.
Would you like to see Alex Smith be like what do you call those?
Like a quarterback coach or something?
Like color commentator?
Color commentator. Yeah, I think he could fit well with that, but I think he's found his groove.
Yeah, I like him as an analyst.
As a pregame analyst, where they kind of just break down film.
Or even at halftime.
Like Tony G.
Yeah. Like
I think he's much better.
Way better.
And
Than Tony.
I love Tony G. I think he's way more
No
well-spoken.
disrespect to Tony. Tony's a very knowledgeable guy.
Yeah.
Alex is... Okay,
that Amazon crew is rough.
Let's put it like this. There's a reason when we talk about the offensive, minded head coaches being the more successful ones. Yeah. There's also a reason why the best commentators are quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because they know how to, it makes...
they live and breathe that shit.
Look at the MLB.
Yeah.
The majority of the best managers are former catchers. You know why? Because they ran the team. Yep. They watched everything on the defensive side. They knew all the ins and outs. Why do you think the majority of best NBA former players that are coaches are point guards? Mm-hmm. Think about it. Almost every single of the best, not centers. How many great all-time centers were great head coaches?
Steve Nash got a coaching job out of nowhere.
It was point guards. Think about it, man. It was guards.
I mean, it
was guys that ran offenses that understand the intricacies of everything. Yeah. So it's the same with the NFL. The guys that are the best at breaking film down are the guys that had to break the film down every single week. Mm-hmm. It was the quarterbacks. Now, there are exceptions, obviously.
And guide the ship.
Yeah,
but if you can guide the ship and lead a team, you can lead a team with the headset on as well, or just analyzing it. Yeah, I think he's great at what he does right now with the analyzing. I like that. I like hearing him at like halftime too, breaking down the half, what to expect the next half. I think he's really, really good at it, man. I think he's got a long career ahead of him with that kind of stuff for sure.
Yep. Who will get more money, Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow?
Ooh.
It's going to really depend on what Joe Burrow wants to do. Biggest reason why I say that is because of the fact that he's now kind of painted himself in a corner. He's been recently quoted as saying that he wants to make sure he keeps the guys around him.
Yep, he's smart. He's learning
We've
from
not
Pat.
heard a thing from Justin Herbert. Mm-hmm. And what's weird, though, is that the Chargers and Justin Herbert have I don't want to say they're in a pass. What do they call that? Impasse. But it kind of feels like it. There's a lot of uncertainty with their head coaching.
He's their only hope, dude.
I know, but I'm wondering. No, hold on. I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak for Justin Herbert here. I don't want to speak for him because more than likely he will stay with the Chargers.
He's incredible, man.
But there's a thought in my mind that Justin Herbert could be using this against the Chargers to get as much money as possible because he knows deep down he's probably not going to be winning a lot here in the AFC West for the foreseeable future. And exactly with the potential influx at head coach, just a lot of the unknowns about are they going to stay at SoFi? Like, we don't know. They can go back to San Diego according to reports. So there's a lot that maybe Justin Herbert's not comfortable with, and maybe he doesn't want to be there long term. So he might say, hey, look, y'all going to have to give me record-setting money, and I think that's what's going to happen. So I think it's going to be Justin Herbert. Because I think the Chargers are going to pay him every dime they can to convince him to stay there, as they should exactly, because he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. Yes. And Trevor said, he is literally their Luke Skywalker, or Obi-Wan. Your only hope. You're our only hope, dude. So I think it's going to be him, and I actually think it's going to be by not a substantial margin, but enough to where he is comfortably, like, to the point where I'll say this. If Justin Herbert gets paid first before Joe Burrow, I still think it's more. I actually think it's more. Because of the fact, like I said, I think Joe Burrow is one of those guys like Patrick Mahomes that really does want to put the team first. I'm not saying Justin Herbert doesn't want to, but their situations are so much different because the Bengals have more of an opportunity to win here.
And they have a true core.
Yeah, and they have a true head coach. Zach Taylor's an offensive-minded head coach, successful. Him and Joe Burrow on the same page. We don't know about.
They have a true elite number one wide receiver in Jamar Chase, and then the Chargers don't. The Keenan Allen's on his way out. He's on the last leg of his career.
And they don't have a Patrick Mahomes in their division, so that kind of.
And I think, of course, the whole situation with Joe Burrow, and that's why I brought it up with the whole contract thing and who's going to get paid more, is because Jamar Chase, I think, came out earlier this week or last week. I can't remember when. That he said that Joe Burrow's going to pretty much take care of me and that he's more than likely going to take a pay cut. So it's kind of like that's where everybody's like starting to like, well, Joe Burrow kind of said that to Jamar Chase.
Well, and don't get me wrong. Joe Burrow is going to be like at worst the second highest paid quarterback of all time. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. He's going to get more money than Jalen Hurts. He's going to get more money than Lamar Jackson. Yeah. He's going to get more money than Patrick Mahomes and all those guys. The point I'm making though is it's going to be the way they structure the contract. I would not be shocked if Joe Burrow gets a 10-year deal. I would not be shocked. He's 26
Following
now.
in the steps of what Pat did is a smart move, man.
Exactly.
I think we could potentially see a 13-year deal with Joe Burrow.
Kind of like those hockey deals, like where you see those guys getting those huge, long deals and they spread that money out. It's genius.
Yeah.
As a Bengals fan, I would hope for that. Because I know Joe's had some injury concerns. He had knee problems and things like that with the ACL. But if he can stay healthy, the next 10 years are looking great for the Bengals.
I think the Bengals would want to make his deal look better than Patrick Mahomes. You know how Patrick Mahomes is like $500 million? I think they're going to go over that maybe like $650 with 13 years.
That's what I'm saying. I actually agree with that more than that being like a 5-year deal. I think it's more likely it's a 13-year deal. I think it's going to be 10. I think they'll go 10 years, and it'll be like a $55 million a year kind of deal where it would set the record, but his money is spread out so much.
You can adjust things a similar way to
the
Chiefs do
signing
every
bonuses,
season
you
with
roll
Pat
over the
Mahomes.
signing bonus to roster bonuses, and all of a sudden all this cap space comes up in like
Well,
that's
and the cap just keeps rising too. You know what I
Right.
mean, the things and the contracts just keep getting heftier and heftier.
Right.
Who do you think will do you think that the Bengals can afford Jamar Chase?
Yes. And once they get Joe
They just
Burrow's
paid
contract
Orlando.
in
They
place.
just paid Orlando a shit ton of money too. man.
That was roster or signing bonus though. It wasn't like
Sure.
it's going to hit their cap every year. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Joe get his contract, and then they're going to see where their money sits, and then they're going to figure out a way to make that work as well. Because Jamar is a guy they can't let go. Like T. Higgins will not be there long
Hell
term.
no, he's one of the best receivers in-
T. Higgins is going to get
surprised he's
paid.
still there.
I know their
I would love
offensive
to
coordinator.
I would love to see Chiefs go get him, man.
What was
but
their offensive
he's gonna
coordinator
get the
guys
bag.
trying to say? He was like, "Oh, everybody's getting paid." No, that's not happening.
can't.
T. Higgins is going to get 15 to 20 a year.
I mean, I hope they do that. That'd be in cap
That would
hell.
strap them insane.
Please
where
do
they have
that.
no defense. They have no defense.
We beat you guys with or without those guys, so I mean, it doesn't matter to us.
No,
I mean,
T. Higgins is going to get paid. I bet like the Titans or a team like that are going to end up paying T. Higgins. They need a wide receiver. I think that's probably something like that's going to happen.
Their main focus is a quarterback, I think, in
I think-
Tennessee.
Right, but I'm saying that they can get cheap at quarterback.
Or the Panthers.
Because they just got what's his face, white boy from the draft,
like in the fourth round or third round.
second round. It was the first pick. I think it was like the first pick of the second round. What's his name? From Kentucky. I'm slipping.
Quarterback?
Will Levis. Will Levis.
Oh,
they
yeah,
just
yeah,
drafted
yeah.
him. They can go and get cheaper at the quarterback position, and so you can potentially justify going and getting like a T. Higgins to build around Will Levis. You know what I mean? Get a 25, 26-year-old T.
I think
Higgins.
T. Higgins is a wide receiver one in this league.
Absolutely.
When he gets the opportunity. He's a
Absolutely.
stud.
When he's gotten those opportunities,
And
he's been a wide
tall,
receiver.
fast, great hands.
So
Yeah.
I definitely think Joe Burrow is getting his money, obviously, and then I think Jamar Chase is next.
Do you think who will demand more money than Tyreek?
No.
no,
T.
no.
Higgins?
He's not Tyreek.
Oh, Jamar, yeah. I can
think-
see him getting 30.
Because arguably the best in
Yeah.
the game. Like Jamar is incredible.
And the market's been set.
Yeah.
Think about it. The market's been set. He'll get 30 a year.
Oh yeah, you know.
And he deserves it. Jamar Chase isn't at worst like the third or fourth best wide receiver in football. At worst.
At worst, I would say third.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
he's-
like at
he's
worst.
right up
Like,
there.
I still think
His skill set's very similar to Tyreek's too.
I think Justin Jefferson's right up there. I think that Devontae Adams is still very much
I think
right
Justin
there.
Jefferson's the best.
Devontae Adams had 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns last year, and that was with there's a lot of inconsistencies in that offense last
But
year.
he was it though. That's why.
But he was
getting
but
like
he-
17 targets a game.
But he was producing in games that mattered.
Sure.
Like against the Chiefs,
Oh,
he
he's
was
incredible.
dominating the
He's
Chiefs.
incredible. I think Justin Jefferson's the best at this point.
It's hard to disagree. Cooper Kupp's still up there. I got to give Coop his
Oh,
love.
sure.
He's top 10.
Sure.
But I think that Tyreek Hill's right there with him. Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown gets slept on, dude. This guy,
I think AJ Brown's better than Stephon Diggs, in my personal opinion.
I think
that's,
Diggs is-
yeah,
I think Diggs
slightly. Like, by a
I think he's
small
just
margin.
more of a dominant player.
Yeah.
Like the size and his speed is that's what gives me the edge on him. But Stephon Diggs is, I think, the better pure route
Stephon
runner.
Diggs saved Josh Allen.
For sure.
Saved him.
For sure.
And I think this is his last season in Buffalo.
Ooh.
I do.
You might not be wrong.
Come on to
you
Kansas
might
City,
not be
buddy.
wrong.
I do think Stephon
And,
Diggs.
and
this is
Stephon
I
is
love
getting, and
Stephon
Stephon
Diggs,
is
bro.
older than people realize. He's
Yeah.
30 years old.
Oh, he's been around, bro. He's with
People
the Vikings
forget,
for
yeah.
what, 6 years,
People
something like
forget.
that. Yeah. So
So I expect Stephon Diggs to be gone from Buffalo. I don't think that situation is amicable or whatever they call it. Very friendly.
that would be.
We saw
Amicable is a good word.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we
quote
saw-
that Keenan Allen
we
tweet.
saw it last season.
Some people might get some exposed.
Yeah, against the Bengals, we saw that offense. We saw the whole team start talking shit on each other. That shit was.
Yep.
I'm here for all of that. So
All right. Just two more questions for you guys. Lakers are down 2-0. Is there concern now with them being down 2-0 and them not making a championship game?
Of course. Absolutely. You're down 2-0 in any or down 0-2 in any series, you should be worried. This is not a ideal scenario by any means. This is why there's no excuses. The Lakers had opportunities to win both of those games, and they squandered both of them.
Yep.
And it goes across the board. There's not one person that needs to be directly blamed. How about the fact LeBron James thought he was Steph Curry in game 2 and started jacking up threes?
Jesus Christ, dude.
Like, I will say this. I understand that he had to lock up Jokic, and he was locking him up, by the way. He shot 2 of 11 against LeBron James in that game. Yeah. So he was locking up Jokic, which means his energy was being exerted on the defensive side, so he probably didn't want to drive to the bucket and exert even more. Well, you got to shoot for like the 4 minutes. You got to stop shooting him at that point. And he was still jacking him up.
He wants to see one fall, and I get it.
I get that, but after like the 4th or 5th one, dude, you're hurting the offense at that point. Anthony Davis shot 27% in game 2.
Yeah, he was awful.
Unacceptable. How can you be that great?
And he wasn't even good defensively either.
Exactly. I will never understand Anthony Davis.
So inconsistent, bro.
Game 1 is the best player on the court outside of Jokic, and it's not even questionable.
40 fucking
And then goes out
points.
there as one of the worst players on the court in game 2. It's just, I don't understand the man. His mentality is so weird to me. I will say this. It's a great sign for the Lakers, though, in the fact that you saw the Nuggets exert all that in their home games, which means that they're due for a clunker of a game to their own standard because they're a great team. So to their own standard, they're going to see a clunker. It's kind of like how the Warriors and Kings series kind of went, where the Warriors were down 0-2, and they got back home, and you saw them reestablish themselves. The beautiful thing for the Lakers in this series is this. Their role players are playing great on the road, which means they're going to play even better at home. Because role players feed off the crowd more than anybody. So Rui Hachimura, the way he's been playing, which is unbelievable in game 2. Austin Reeves was fantastic in those first 2 games. The Schroeder's playing awesome. D'Lo's had some moments. Like, these guys play that well at home. This series is going to be 2-2 going back to Denver. And in fact, that is what I think is going to happen because I'm not budging. I still think the Lakers are going to win this series, but they are really up against it right now because they cannot afford to lose any of these next 2 games or this series is done. I'm not picking the Lakers if they go down 3-1. I'm not. Okay. I will give I will give the Denver Nuggets
Nobody
enough
comes
respect.
back from that shit.
Exactly. I will not accept LeBron James.
Of course.
But the point I'm making, no, that was okay.
This is not 2017, 2016 LeBron James.
This is not 31-year-old LeBron James.
Yeah.
Like this. Okay. The point I'm making is I think the Lakers know they have to win these next 2 games or their season's done. They know that this is it for LeBron and AD, like as far as like where they can continuously build for championships as the 2 best players. Like this might be their last shot. And I think that they're going to get this game. I think they're going to get game 3. I'm almost guaranteeing they're going to get game 3.
Got to win.
Game 5 is where this series is going to be decided because I think it's going to go back to Denver 2-2. Whoever wins game 5 in Denver is going to win this series. I really believe that. I think that whoever wins game 5 is going to win the series because if Denver wins, they go up 3-2. Sure, Lakers might force a game 7 by winning game 6. I'm not betting against the Nuggets in game 7 at home. So the Lakers know they have to win the next 2 games. I think they know they got to win the next 3. I think the Lakers got to win the next 3 games if they want to win this series. That's a lot to ask for against this Nuggets team, but if there's anybody that I'm putting my faith in to get it done is LeBron James, and I think they get it done.
Well, and this is 100% a concerning situation. You go down 0-2 in any kind of NBA series, it's tough, no matter who you are, no matter who you're playing. So this is tough. Just like the Warriors. We saw the Warriors go down 0-2 to my Kings. What do? They had that championship caliber players. They have true leaders. They have people that have been there and done it before, and they rallied and they beat the Kings. Kudos to them. Congratulations. Them and the refs did a great job. But this series is 100% a concern. These first 2 games, I believe Jamal Murray is averaging 35 points in the first 2 games. He just had 37 last night. That he's been a problem. Do I think that's going to continue and he's going to do it every single night? No, I don't. I think the defense of Lakers definitely becomes more stout at home. I think with the fans rallying around them with that defense, we know who they are. They've been, like I said, the best team in basketball since the trade deadline. And I expect listen, it wasn't like the Nuggets have completely blown them out. They had a massive blowout lead for a while in game 1, but the Lakers rallied, right? Because they know that that's what they're capable of. They just have not finished these games. If LeBron wasn't jacking up threes this last game and missing stupid ass dunk attempts trying to be on a highlight reel instead of just getting the points, certain things like that, he's got to be better than that. LeBron's got to be better. And as much as I hate saying that because he's been incredible his whole career and he's always found ways to win and rally, that was bad. I didn't like seeing that. I didn't like seeing him miss that dunk. I didn't like seeing him jacking those threes, trying to, win but just by jacking up the 3 and playing bad offense, not moving the ball. There's a lot the way the offense has been run by the Lakers is I just haven't liked it. Get AD in the post. Get LeBron in the post. You know what I mean? Move the ball around. Swing the ball. Pick and roll. Give and go. Things like that. We're just not seeing enough movement from this offense. The defense is still good. I mean, like you said, Jokic didn't have that great of a night last night. But Jamal Murray is continuing just to stroke it, man. That guy's been balling out of control. I don't think he's going to have big nights like that every single night in this series. I think they got to find a way to contain him a little bit more. But yeah, this is it. I think if the Lakers lose, obviously today, this series is over. The Nuggets are too good. Yeah. And we've known the Nuggets have faltered, and they've had their moments but I mean, the Lakers know that LeBron's already beat this team before. You know what I mean? To get to the finals in the bubble. So I mean, he knows that this team is beatable. I think the Nuggets have the upper hand at coaching just because of experience. But also at the same time, I think LeBron James his experience on the floor and AD having his moments where he can be the best defensive player in the world at times. We need to see him. If AD is consistent, if AD had an AD game last night, the Lakers win.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's where this lies. LeBron played well enough.
Right.
There were some boneheaded things he did, and there was a lot of sloppy turnovers in that game. But they were leading the game the whole entire time until the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? The fourth quarter is where they
just fucking got.
But even when Jamal was playing well most of the game.
And that's with AD playing terrible.
That's what I'm saying. They were still leading. Still a winnable game. The Nuggets just pulled away at the end because they'd known how to finish these games. The Lakers have not finished games.
And I think, Trevor, you would agree with me on this. This series would be on the complete flip if the Lakers had home court. Sure. Like, I think they would be up 2-0 right now if they had home court. The Nuggets are a monster.
These are both great home. Both these teams are great at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Lakers, to that credit, are 6-0, I think. 6-0 at home, 7-0.
They haven't lost at home
They have not lost at home in the playoffs, which is why I'm very confident in giving the benefit of the doubt to both home teams that the Lakers are going to come back to Denver 2-2. That's why I said this series is going to be decided in Game 5. The Lakers win Game 5 in Denver, that breaks the series, and I think they would win Game 6. The Lakers would go back home and win in Game 6.
Yeah.
But, like I said, the Nuggets win Game 5. I really think that's where I don't mean to disrespect the Nuggets and just assume 2-2, but I do believe the Lakers are a good enough team, especially at home, to get those 2
And it really does suck to see Hachimura have that great game the other night.
It was a waste, man.
Such
that's
a solid
confidence
game.
boost for him, though.
Sure, but I mean, they can build on that. But that's not every night you can expect that from guys like that. You know, Lonnie Walker went out there and tried to get it going. He really couldn't get it going.
Hachi had, 19 points at half?
Hachi was incredible. I think he should be starting right now. You know what I mean? I really do. I think they should figure out a way to get him in the starting rotation rather than Schroeder. Schroeder's a solid defender in the perimeter, and he's good to keep on Jamal Murray, and I get that. But I think Hachi's offensive prowess has been too good to. I mean, keeping him in rotation, maybe he's better coming off the bench as a 6-man type thing, like a Manu Ginobili type player. But if they can get that out of Reeves and Hachimura again, and AD plays an AD game tonight, I think they absolutely roll tonight.
Yeah. You concerned with the LeBron James ankle sprain that he had on?
I'm not concerned about that. I think that's something he's played through his whole entire career.
So,
what I'm worried about is the Liz Frank issue that he's dealing with.
Yeah, the foot.
That lower part of your foot, dude, that takes people out for a season. He's still playing through that. That is my concern.
Yeah, because I saw the game the last game, Game 2, and towards the end of the second half, you can see him limping pretty hard.
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, when he was walking out of the tunnel.
Yeah, he was limping hard, and obviously adding an ankle sprain to that. Is there any? I know James said that he's gonna play through the injury regardless of what he's playing Saturday.
But
so
could it cause him?
Yeah, I was gonna say, could it affect the Lakers in any way?
This is why I have been saying, you guys, I'm the biggest LeBron guy. But this is why I've been saying for so long that I'm getting frustrated with Anthony Davis. This should be his
he's supposed
team
to be
now.
The guy. Yeah, he's supposed to be the guy.
He needs to be the guy not on one game.
Yeah.
That's what makes LeBron and Michael Jordan and all these other guys so great is you knew every single time they were on that court in the playoffs, they're bringing it. Yeah. Anthony Davis needs to be that guy. Damn it. Like, LeBron
almost had a triple-double last game.
Yes, you
know what I mean?
Like,
it wasn't like
LeBron James at 38 years old with a Liz Frank injury and an ankle sprain to go out there and lead your team in points, rebounds, and assists. But guess what he's doing? Yeah. Leading in points, rebound, and assists. You can't have him doing that, bro. Like, Anthony Davis needs to go out there in Game 3 and drop 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Yeah. He's got to have that game. Yeah. You can't, because to your point, Eddie, you have LeBron go out there and try to score 3-pointers all night, you're going to lose Game 3.
And LeBron wants him to be the alpha of his team.
He wants him to be.
He's trying to get him there. Like, it's just so inconsistent, man. When he's on, it's this team is
it would be different.
Best team in the league.
It would be different if LeBron was 31, 32 years old.
Right.
Like, obviously, we're like, okay, well, AD, just make sure and just play your role.
Change the expectations.
No, man, he's almost 40 years old. Like, he's still great. He's averaging 24 points per game in the playoffs. Like, at 38, he's having numbers that are, like, literally just as good as Larry Bird's entire postseason career. Yeah. And Larry Bird's one of the 10, 15 greatest players of all time. So, LeBron's bringing it still as much as he can, but they got to have AD play at a superstar
last
level.
game, LeBron defended every position.
Exactly, dude.
He was defending point for at one point. He was defending Jokic at one point. He's playing powerful. It's like, dude, at 38 years old, he's still defending every position.
He was second in scoring on the team, first in assists, first in rebounds, and shutdown.
And he shouldn't have to. And he shouldn't
38.
have to do that. That's the point, man. AD is like a ghost.
I know, man.
It's so frustrating, bro.
You know, LeBron's averaging more minutes played in this than he did 5 years ago in the playoffs.
I mean,
He's averaging more minutes played in these.
Don't tell me that the man doesn't want it. We could talk about the flops, but don't tell me that the man doesn't want it, bro. He's out there competing, playing damn near every single minute of every game like that at almost 40 years old.
Game 3, it all depends on Anthony Davis. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I believe so. LeBron's going to do what he does, man.
Obviously, you got to have your role. Like I was saying, you got to have your role players. Austin Reeves got to go out there and play well. Hachi's got to play well. It's going to be a team thing because the Nuggets
We
are
need
that
more
great.
out of the guards, though. We need D'Lo and Schroeder to get provide some offense as well.
Yes, because to that point, as great as Jokic was again in Game 2 and as great as Jamal Murray was in Game 2, it wasn't just those two guys that won that game. We got to remember Brown started hitting some big threes and make good defensive stops.
Yeah.
Michael Porter was ice in his veins
been great
again.
this series,
like
yeah.
the Nuggets are winning games as a collective.
Yep.
Like KCP's playing his role. Like this team is winning games as a collective. So on the flip side of it, the Lakers got to do the same. Where yes, I want Anthony Davis to go out there and drop 35 because that's going to set the precedent. LeBron's going to get 22 to 25, but Hachi and Reeves and Schroeder and D'Lo and Vanderbilt, they all got to play their role, man.
They got to move the ball. They got to move the ball offensively. There's too many times where it's just strictly ISO. LeBron will get the ball to somebody, and then they'll just like everyone will kind of like back up, let him go ISO, or LeBron will get it, and he's all ISO, and he tries to, and then he'll settle for a three.
Yeah.
Dude, move the ball. Get a a pick and roll going. Get a high low.
Can I make a prediction?
Yeah.
The Lakers are going to score over 60 points in the paint.
And I think AD is going to have to dominate in the paint, bro. They have no answer for him.
I'm going to say because their first half against the Nuggets when they were winning Game 2, they already had almost 40 points in the paint.
Second
they'd have
chance
kept that
points.
They'd have won.
Second chance points. The Lakers do not crash the boards.
Yeah.
And I get it. Today's era, the pace is so fast. You know, if everyone's crashing boards, you're going to get screwed because they have somebody cherry picking and they're going to get easy points.
Yeah.
So you got to get back. I get that, but AD especially in the inside, crash those boards. Whoever that's playing power forward is, whether it's LeBron or Hachimura.
Another good news for the Lakers
forward.
is that their free shooting has never been better. In that first half in Game 2, they made 19 straight free throws.
Yeah.
So that keeps rolling, which I do expect at home. They're going to win this game. I actually think they're going to win this game double digits. I think they'll be because I think like I said,
if AD plays,
it's going to be
roll.
that shifting where the Lakers are going to play out of desperation, and the Nuggets are going to come in going, look, we got to just win one of these two games. We just won two big games. There were physical games in the first two games at home. We're going on the road.
Similar to the Warriors.
I don't want to
series.
say they're going to concede. Yeah. I don't want to say the Nuggets are going to concede. I don't want to disrespect them. I think Michael Malone wants them to play hard. But I think that you're going to see a Lakers team that's going to go out there and play as best as they have in the series. And they played really well, honestly, for the first two games. And I think in this Game 3, I think the Lakers win this game like 121 to 109, something like that.
We do need the, and I want to say it. I'm never really that guy ever to blame officials, but we need the officials to be a little better tonight as well.
On both sides.
On both sides. LeBron's flop was unacceptable. I didn't like that either. There's been flopping going on, but Jokic is a fucking 7 foot, almost 300-pound man out there. Austin Reeves gave him a little tap on his back, and he throws himself, and he gets a whistle. That's
working.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
There is so many bad calls given
or
to
the
Jokic,
bullshit
bro.
D'Lo flagrant foul on Jamal Murray.
Yeah, that was a good
you
hard
hit the
foul.
Ball, dude.
Yeah,
like this is why people say the league
refs
is
were
soft.
horrible last
This is
game.
why when people say the league is soft, they're right, but it's not what they think it is. It isn't the players; it's the officiating.
Absolutely.
They changed that when Michael Jordan was starting getting beat up by the Pistons. The league knew, hey, look, our expensive players are getting hurt. We got to protect these guys, and that's when it changed. It's soft culture. That's what
there were some really, really bad calls last game. I really hope they clean that up a little bit.
Now that same question I asked you guys first is like, is there concern? But now we're gonna go with the Celtics. Is there a concern, especially 2 down against Miami at home? I think it was.
Yes, the Celtics are 100% losing the series. I picked the Heat in this series confidently. I did pick them in 7 because I had respect for the Celtics, especially with the home court. I didn't expect the Heat to win the first 2 damn games, but I did have them splitting. Now that see, this is the thing. This is what the Celtics are clearly the better team. It is without question
More
the better
talented team.
But here's the difference: the Heat have 3 significant advantages. They have the best coach in basketball in Eric Spoelstra. Dude is established. I told Trevor last night. This season, this postseason run has established him. He was already an elite head coach. To me, he's trumped everybody now. He's at the top. Second thing, they have the best player in this series, in Jimmy Butler. I know that Jason Tatum is on a regular basis a better player.
Jimmy is different,
but
bro.
playoff Jimmy is different, bro. He's a Hall of Fame, one of the greatest players of all time, great in the postseason, like legitimately. And the third big, and this is the biggest thing, and more than coaching, more than Jimmy Butler. The Heat are the stronger, mentally stronger team. You see in these crunch moments,
crashing boards.
Guys like Grant Williams to the Celtics is trying too hard to like get into Jimmy Butler's head. Do you not know that's going to have an adverse effect? You can't get in that man's head. Right. What the hell are you thinking?
He invites that shit. He wants that.
You're going to crack this guy?
Yeah.
Like Hey, that's
He's
where Jimmy
insane,
just like laughed and was like, "All right, bet." Like this
Went
how
the fuck off after
yeah,
that.
this is how strong of a mind Jimmy Butler has, right? They're down 6 points to the Bucks in the elimination game, and he went up to Drew Holiday and pointed him and said, "I own you," and they went on a 10-0 run and won the game. Like that's what I'm
telling you, he's
like this Heat
different,
team
bro.
has no business being here.
Yeah.
They are not talented enough. And we know the league is ran by talent. NBA is ran by talent. This is the outlier right here. We're witnessing the outlier. And I think that the Heat are going to get to the finals. I think they're going to win this series in 5 or 6 games. I think the Celtics, Jason Tatum will have one of those 50 burgers and they'll pull off a 3-point victory and they'll extend this series. The Heat are not losing this series, dude. They have 2 home games coming up. They've already destroyed home court. I think they're going to win this series in 5-6 games. Really.
Yeah,
I
I immediately when I told you we were
nailed
watching
that.
we were watching that last game of the Philly Celtics series. I wanted Philly to win that series, obviously, and I said if Philly wins this series, I think they beat the Heat because that's a nightmare matchup for Adebayo to try to defend Joel Embiid. The fact that the six, and I said if the Celtics win, that's a bad matchup for them, and I think the Heat would win in 6. Did this happen already? They've already beaten this team before in a series. You know what I mean? They have the numbers. I don't know what it is. And granted, there is a massive advantage a massive advantage at head coach for the Heat because I think Spoelstra has earned that title as arguably the best coach in the league right at this point. So all that means is he's probably going to get fired soon. What I'm seeing out of this Heat team is just incredible. It's all effort. You got an old Kyle Lowry, out there hitting shots and making plays as a role player at this point. Jimmy Butler, and old Kevin Love come off the bench making his vintage full court passes at the flick of a wrist. It's just insane what he does, how he does that. Hitting threes, spreading the floor. Jimmy Butler doing everything. You got 4 rotational guys that are undrafted. That were undrafted guys in this league that have become massive key contributors to this team. Tyler Hero has been out basically the whole postseason with a broken hand. And if they win this series and go to the finals, there's a chance that Tyler Hero makes a return.
Yep.
Think about that. You'll have that shooter coming back. It's just incredible, man. What they've and Bam Adebayo has been an absolute soldier in the paint, getting second chance points and put back points and did defensive against Al Horford and whoever's in the paint, or even stepping out on the perimeter at times. This team is just a solid unit. What they do as a unit, as a team, and the companionship and the energy and the chemistry between all these guys. And I've been loving seeing all the freezing cold takes between. I don't know if you saw that poll that the Sixers fans put out. That was on freezing cold takes. It was a poll between who would you rather have moving forward, Jimmy Butler or Tobias Harris, and it was like overwhelmingly like 90% Tobias Harris. Remember when Jimmy Butler left? In
2017 was
Freezing
that?
Cold Takes posted that yesterday, bro. It was hilarious. Just seeing what Jimmy Butler's done with this Heat team, just over the years, and the way they started this postseason, beating the 1 seed Bucks, was incredible. So this team has something, man. It's a contagious thing around that locker room. They all believe in each other, and that's huge. And Jimmy Butler's a hell of a leader when it comes to the postseason. So I love what I'm seeing out of them. I 100% believed from the beginning when I saw the Celtics beat the Sixers that the Heat were going to beat them in 6. And I believe that's what's going to happen.
All right, last question. I don't know if you guys are going to watch the fight tonight, the boxing fight, but it's a big fight, big time fight.
Yep.
I think it's 2 undefeated fighters going at it. I think today, with Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko. It's gonna be it's gonna be fireworks.
It's gonna be a bloodbath.
I don't know if you saw the weigh-in, and they were
Haney straight shove. Like full-fledged shove Lomachenko.
Yeah, so there's some bad blood for tonight. So who you got?
Eddie, I'm not a boxing expert here, so I'm not gonna sit and pretend like I know the breakdowns. I'm Teddy Atlas over in this bitch. No, I'm gonna take Haney, and I know that sounds nuts to say because Lomachenko's the legend, but Lomachenko's also about 12, 13 years older. And he's also a lot smaller. And unless he's going to get inside of Haney, which I know Haney has insanely great defense, I don't know if Lomachenko's going to be able to score enough points against Haney to win this fight, dude. So unless Haney goes in there and acts reckless, I think he's going to win this fight, dude. I really do. I think he can win this fight and win it well. Lomachenko is the legend. Let me, again, emphasize that part. But he is the smaller fighter. He's the older fighter. That's hard to overcome a lot of times, especially again, a motivated, undefeated fighter who, what I've seen, because I was watching before our show today, I was watching the way that Haney was training for this fight. They were talking about how his points, his trainer was scoring points on all of his different sets. They said he was doing the same amount of things as like what's called a first round running back. Like the abilities they all had, the physical things he was doing is like a first round running back is what he was doing scoring wise. I'm going with the youth. I'm going with the length. I'm going with the strength, and I'm going to say that he's going to win this fight, which means Lomachenko will probably win in the first round knockout.
Shevs, Maevs, and now Chinkos. I'm telling you, man,
You don't bet against them.
I don't bet against them. These guys are just bred different. I don't care about the athleticism. I don't care about the endurance. I don't care about the training. I don't care about any of that. I don't know much about these guys because I'm not the biggest boxing guy. I don't know a lot about these guys, if I'm being honest. But I don't bet against the Chevs, Maevs, and then now the Chinkos. So I'm going with the Chinko here. So
I'm with Lance on this one. I think Haney's gonna he's gonna prove the world he is the next guy.
it's his time.
He won all four championships of his weight class. So now it's him trying to take out a legend, and I think he's gonna do it. And if he does that, he will cement himself one of the best fighters in his generation. So it's gonna be great to see this fight tonight. Unfortunately, I might miss it. I might make it. I got Monster Truck tonight.
Nice.
So I might miss
What are you,
it.
12? No, I was kidding.
Yes.
I'm just kidding,
Yes.
bro.
I love monster trucks.
Bro, I would go. I would go if I got
That
tickets.
shit's so cool.
I'm 12 for Monster Trucks and 10 for WWE.
There you go.
You add them together, you're 22. This is great. You can drink.
I don't want to grow up.
All
Let's
right.
go.
I don't want to grow up.
Yeah, give me Devin Haney. So
I like
that's
it,
gonna be a fucking, yeah, so.
Good Eddie R, man. I appreciate that every single week. That's my favorite segment of the show, man. We just kind of go across the sports landscape, which I know obviously a lot of Chiefs fans out here, but we know that there's a lot of people that pay attention to everything else out there, and so we appreciate you guys' time as well. We have one more order of business to get to, guys. What is it called?
Hold this L.
Each and every episode, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Regardless of those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding the L's in the world of sports deserve those L's. Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, throwing it right back to you. Who's holding the L for you this week, and why is it F1?
Unfortunately, no F1 since the Grand Prix for tomorrow, this whole Grand Prix weekend got canceled due to rain, due to flooding. Track was flooding, and obviously the city where it was at, had severe flooding. So obviously the government and F1 did the right thing and canceled this event.
Yeah.
But no, not F1. I'm gonna give it to FIFA. FIFA.
I got a FIFA.
F-A. The Football International Federation Association.
Is that what it stands for?
Yes.
Learn something new every day.
And I'm gonna give it to CONCACAF.
Sounds delicious.
It's yeah. So
Sorry.
CONCACAF represents the North American soccer federation.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. Central America, all that stuff. I'm gonna give it to both of them. Obviously, the logo was revealed on Thursday. You have no idea how much I waited for that moment. It was a big moment in my life, and a lot of soccer fans around the world, not just obviously me. It was a big moment, and you can fail, right? You have 3 countries hosting the World Cup tournament in 2026 with USA, Canada, and Mexico. You're like, you know what? I can trust them. I can trust FIFA. So the unveiling of the 2026 World Cup was Thursday night. For those that didn't know. And let me just say, I was disappointed. I was embarrassed as a fan of soccer. I was embarrassed. As an American, I was embarrassed. The product that we're putting out there is just terrible.
You would think we'd be further along by now.
Yeah, you would think the design for the logo would be like, 3 countries coming together. Obviously, you're gonna add a little bit of each country into the logo.
Yep.
which obviously I don't know if you've seen the previous World Cup logos with Brazil had like the Brazilian flag in a way where it was like the World Cup trophy. It was nice. Qatar obviously with the fuck, what is it called, turban or no disrespect, I don't know what it's called. That was the World Cup logo. It was amazing. And CONCACAF and FIFA blew it. It was atrocious.
Yeah, you have. I was saying, show that to the
camera.
camera.
Let me pull it
You
up
showed
real
me, what
quick.
was that, Thursday, I want to say, when you showed me? That was terrible.
Put it up real quick. Let me put up the logo real quick for you guys. And it was just embarrassing to see. So, this...
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it, but...
It looks like the numbers had too much salt.
Yeah.
They're like bloated.
That's the 2026 World Cup logo.
Yeah. Yeah, about as big. I literally could go on Photoshop Express right now and make that in 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably less.
Yeah.
Probably less. Yeah, you would think that 3 countries, add some color to it, add some flavor to it, but obviously being America, and wanting to be different than everybody else
By being plain as Jane,
yeah, they
know we're all going to watch anyways. They don't care.
yeah,
It's also a fact.
That's true, but
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Throw that shit out there.
it was such a terrible logo. I can honestly say, in my opinion, this is the worst logo in World Cup history.
Should be ashamed.
Literally. FIFA's response and CONCACAF's response like, oh, the white, that's just like the basic model. Every country's going to have their own logo. You can personalize it. Yeah, Kansas City personalized the 26 to whatever color they wanted. Each hosting city kind of like did the same thing. They modified the logo to their city. But it's still fucking terrible. It's bad. It's terrible. I don't like it. Take it away.
Boo.
I just don't know how they come up with the. I wish I can show you the logo they rejected. I wish I can go up and show you. It was an amazing one. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up after the show. But yeah, it was embarrassing. I don't know what to say. So many years waiting for this moment, and they just ruined the logo like that. Pathetic. So, FIFA, CONCACAF, USA, Mexico, Canada, you're going to have to do me a favor and
Hold this L. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week, my man?
So why is it F1?
So it's definitely not
it
F1. Mine's actually a W and an L at the same time, simultaneously, for 2 different reasons. I'm surprised we didn't talk about this on the show at all, but just in the past couple days or so, we all saw that the highly noted and highly one of the best men in entertainment, sports entertainment especially, Pat McAfee, got the bag from ESPN. We all saw he's leaving. He had that $120 million deal from FanDuel. He's leaving to take on even a bigger deal with ESPN. Obviously, the conglomerate that we know that ESPN is. They need something. They need help, and I think if anyone can help their brand, I think Pat McAfee is the man for the job. I mean, he's incredible. What he does in his show is probably the best show in sports, if we're all being honest, as far as the chemistry between his guys, the flow of the show. It might suck now because of. It might not be as uncensored, but they might still allow him to be, what he is. I don't think he would agree to something that would take away who he is. So we'll see how this all goes. But I just want to say I'm happy for him, and from what he's come from, being a punter in the NFL, and that quit, midway through his career as to become. He trusted his personality and trusted his brand and who he was as a person and a go-getter, and he's done nothing but succeed. Yep. At high levels, with his ties to the WWE and what he does there, and he's incredible at that.
This sucks for wrestling fans. This
sure.
news sucks.
Because
obviously WWE has Fox Sports,
yep.
So
yeah, but I think listen, he wants to make, and he wants to do what's best for him and his personal life and what this
he
is
had a daughter.
A life-changing situation. Maybe he wants to take some less work from doing the WWE stuff. Maybe he's over there's too much going on for him. Overstimulated with work of those things. So
Don't want to
maybe
get burnt out, man.
Yeah, of
he
course.
just had a baby, so
Yeah. So
Yeah.
a lot of priorities are probably shifting.
yeah.
So that's my W. I just want to say I'm happy for him. Congratulations
Yeah, I
on
think.
from where he, like
Just
I said,
him.
the humble things that he came from, what he is now. Who knows? He's still a young man. He's right around our age group.
37, 38
You know what I
years
mean?
old.
Yeah. So it's incredible to see what he's done.
ESPN's gonna find a way to fuck that up.
Possibly, if I'm a betting man, I would probably say that. But either way, I think he's one of those people that's just kind of land on his feet. He's like a cat. He's got the 9 lives. I just feel like he's such a well-spoken guy and he's great at what he does with his content. So kudos to him. Congratulations to him. But like I said, that was the W. The L is obviously there's been a pretty large group of people that are not happy about this move. And there's a one particular talking head, a well-fed talking head, if you will, Jason Whitlock. Was not happy, and he had this to say about the move and the decision from Pat McAfee. Quote, no amount of money, security, and attention satiates a weak man. He behaves no differently than a woman, end quote. Quote, he joined the groomers, the makers of cartoons and movies intended to sexually manipulate the identities and worldview of children. He joined the race baiters, the sports network that specializes in stirring racial division, end quote. Quote, it's arguably the weakest and most disappointing move in the history of sports. It makes LeBron James' decision to take his talents to South Beach and team with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh seem as courageous as storming the beaches of Normandy, end quote. The irony in this is the irony of this quote to me is he's preaching, trying to preach against divisiveness while being extremely divisive. This is a self-defeating quote. This is a self-defeating statement.
Jason Whitlock is a self-defeating person, Trev.
And exactly. That's why I am very confused. I'm not confused or surprised here. I'm just really disappointed that this continues to be a thing. And as if Pat McAfee has, he's trying to include, because ESPN is now owned by Disney. Disney is now looked at as a groomer from all these conspiracy theorists, as if they're. That's a whole other section of debate or speculation or whatever you want to call them being inclusive to other worldviews of people rather than just the typical vanilla American life that everyone wants them to continue to do. Sorry if they're being inclusive. It is what it is. Whether you like it or don't like it, you can choose to watch or not watch that kind of content. It is what it is. But for him to basically say that this move by Pat is him being as weak as a woman and comparing him to a woman because he's joining the sexualizers and race baiters and all these things that are attached to ESPN apparently. And for me, the biggest thing here, the biggest takeaway here is the fact that Jason Whitlock feels the need to bring down another man at his highest moment of his career,
While also being a sexist.
We can easily dive into his personal issues that he's had, as if he didn't work for ESPN at one point and was a massive part of that as well. Lost his job because he was fired, not by choosing to leave because he was leaving the groomers. I just don't like the idea of a man feeling the need when a man is hitting arguably the pinnacle of his career, getting the biggest contract and getting his bag, and you want to put your hand in another man's pockets. You want to bring another man down at his highest moment. That's your style. That's what you want to do. That's how you want to be. That's how you want to represent yourself as if men don't have it hard enough in this world to become something, to have to build themselves into becoming something. That's exactly what Pat McAfee has done his whole career. Was a freaking punter in the NFL, trusted in himself, left the NFL, left the king of sports to pursue a personality career. And he's done nothing but flourish. And now you want to talk down on this man and bring this man, try to bring this man down. Not that Jason Whitlock holds any weight to Pat McAfee and who he's become and where he's at in status wise. But that to me is what the problem is with modern men nowadays in a lot of ways, and having to bring others down to make yourself feel better about yourself. Because when Jason Whitlock wakes up in the mirror and he looks himself in the mirror, he doesn't like what he sees, and that comes out, that oozes out of your personality when you see someone else having success and you're not reaching that kind of success. It's pathetic, man. You don't like yourself, just say that. You know what I mean? So For that, Jason Whitlock, do me a solid favor, buddy, and
Hold this L. Not to expand too much on Jason Whitlock because he doesn't even deserve our very small compared to Pat McAfee's platform. But a couple things. I mean, first of all, this is now the brand of Jason Whitlock to where he is saying such insanely stupid and reckless things that's how he gets. Yeah, that's how he gets his attention now. Yeah. It's not about great articles he used to write for the Kansas City Star. It's not about good takes in sports world. It's about attacking people to where we all start talking about it.
Well, yeah, it's personal for us because he was
it's
local.
So reprehensible that you have to almost address it sometimes. Right. And second of all, look at it. All the people that you see Jason Whitlock attacking are people that are doing what? Something with their lives. Yeah. That are successful. Mina Kimes was somebody he recently attacked. Yeah. And she's one of the most successful people on ESPN. She's a woman in a man-dominant realm, yep. And she's very good at her job.
Also minority, which is ironic.
She's a Korean-American, and she's very much good at her job. She's very articulate. She knows shit. She does what she does. And he doesn't like that because he's a has-been, and he wants that job.
Well, and who he works for demands that kind of content.
Of course. And most people don't even know who the fuck he works for anyway, so that's the funniest part. And so you sit here and attack people like that because you know that if ESPN came to you right now and said, hey, Jason, we want you back, you're taking the job. Yeah. And then Pat McAfee, who's he is the Joe Rogan of sports podcasting. Right. He is jealous of him because Whitlock has spent 30-plus years trying to build him up to be half of what McAfee is. That's the point, is he's mad that guys like McAfee and women like Mina Kimes are 20 years younger than Whitlock and are doing 20 years less work to get to where they're at. And he doesn't like that. People like him are nasty and disgusting and despicable because, like Trevor said, when he wakes up and sees himself, he hates the person he sees. He hates the person that he is. People like him are not happy people. You don't see them surrounded by good folks, happy folks. Why? Because misery welcomes misery, not happiness. Yeah. You don't see people like good, loving-hearted, good-hearted people hanging out with Jason Whitlock.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy as well, and not to make this about me in any way, but there is a common theme within Stoic philosophy, which I think is important for most men to dabble in and learn from, as far as moral reasons and just either way. There's a big quote within Stoic philosophy to adopt. I think for everybody should adopt. When there's nothing good to say, just don't say it. So I feel like this is obviously just for him to reach and to say something negative about someone, just for clout, just for notoriety, just for trigger reasons, just for all these things. And it's just a pathetic thing for someone of his ilk to, I mean, this is not a surprise from him, but the fact that he continues to show who he is as a man or lack thereof as a man to try to bring down another man to his level.
And isn't it funny how unwoke ESPN was until they fired Jason Whitlock?
Right.
Because he wasn't saying that shit when he was there. He wasn't saying that shit about F1 until they fired him, and now all of a sudden these places are woke. It's just convenient timing.
If you don't have anything good to say, man, don't say it.
I want to give a W as well, and I'm going to start with this one because of the fact that it hits home here in Kansas City. It is to the praise and the legacy of one Brett Veach, and this is going to sound silly, but hear me out here. My W is going to go to Brett Veach and Breland Speaks. Why am I giving a W to Breland Speaks? Well, if anybody knows, he's playing currently in the USFL, and he's not only playing in the USFL, he's actually one of the best players in the USFL. We all know that Breland Speaks was a failed draft pick in Kansas City. In fact, he was the first draft pick that Brett Veach ever took as the Chiefs GM. He traded up in the second round to get Breland Speaks because the Chiefs didn't have a first-round pick that year because they traded for Frank Clark. Or I'm sorry, no, they traded for Patrick Mahomes the year before. So the USFL had this write-up because Breland Speaks is now he's a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. And this is the write-up. His performance in the USFL could certainly be his path back to the NFL, with his potential as a professional finally being realized. You can watch Speaks in action this weekend on Fox at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, which is actually going on right as we speak, on May 20th, when the Panthers take on Birmingham Stallions at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Former Kansas City Chiefs draft pick Breland Speaks is dominating his first season with the USFL Michigan Panthers. At the season's halfway point, he already has more earning consideration for the USFL's Defensive Player of the Year honors. Speaks as USFL's sack leader through Week 5 with 6.5 sacks for the Panthers. He earned the league's Defensive Player of the Week honors twice in that span, most recently after recording 2.5 sacks in Michigan's loss to the Pittsburgh Maulers. While his team only has a 2-3 overall record through 5 games, Speaks has been a big-time bright spot for the Spring Football League. A second-round pick out of Ole Miss in the 2018 draft, Speaks played all 16 games as a rookie in Kansas City, recorded 24 tackles and 1.5 sacks. He spent the entire 2019 season on injured reserve and was released during the final roster cuts of the 2020 NFL season. So this man has been nothing short of a redemption story. The last 3 years, he's been completely just a ghost, non-existent, looked like one of the greatest busts in Chiefs history, which honestly he was, outside of like maybe Sylvester Morris and a couple others. But to see him go out there in a much smaller, less popular, less talented league and go out there and make a name for himself, so much so the first sentence in this paragraph is that he could work his way back and win his way back into the NFL, is one of my favorite things to see, man, because we've seen this story before where you had quarterbacks that have played in other leagues work their way back to playing in the NFL. We've seen Kurt Warner, Jim Kelly, Doug Flutie, guys like
Johnny
that.
Manziel's next.
Yeah, right. We'll see about that. Left the damn bottle. But, Breland Speaks doing what he does is both a credit to him and to, honestly, Brett Veach, because think about it. This is the worst pick that Brett Veach has ever had, and it's this guy? A guy that's out here making names to where he might get himself back in the NFL? Like, that's nothing short of incredible, man. I absolutely love that. Sending a W to Breland Speaks for his hard work and his work ethic, and quite frankly for Brett Veach, because if that's his worst pick, then he's done pretty damn well in the draft for the last 5 years. My L is going to go to a guy that loves giving out receipts, and it's no other than the guy that I think that leads all L's in the Spoken's history, and that's Stephen A. Smith, because of the fact that just one previous series ago, he was very adamant that the Lakers had no shot of beating the Warriors in that series. I think he had the Lakers losing in 5 or 6. And my guy Kendrick Perkins decided to call him out. And the best part about this is Stephen A. wants to pretend like he didn't even say it. And Perkins called him out on his own show. I'm going to send it to you right now. Well, Lance, what Lance is going to do is he's actually going to screenshot something and then turn the volume all the way down. So let me go ahead and find that again for you guys, because I'm going to give an L to myself now because I was acting all confident, and here I fucking go. So,
well, did you screenshot it and you had the volume off?
No, I was trying to get to it and I screenshotted something else while I was trying to click on it. So my dumb ass is serving all kinds of L's right here. Here we go. I think. Nope. No, that's Stephen A. talking about the Mount Rushmore debacle.
I was going to say, yeah, Stephen A. during the Warriors series, he was talking about how Steph could possibly leapfrog LeBron
Here it is.
on the Mount Rushmore.
And you said, I'm going to say this, make this very, very clear. There's nowhere in hell the Los Angeles Lakers are beating the Golden State Warriors. And here I don't recall that. I have no recollection of that. Let me be very clear. Ain't no way in hell the Los Angeles Lakers are beating the Golden State Warriors. I predicted the Warriors would win, but I don't recall saying there's no way in hell. Ain't no way in hell. Ain't no way in hell. The Los Angeles Lakers are beating the Golden State Warriors. Well, I don't recall that. I think that's a bit extreme.
ESPN played that shit, man?
Yeah, Kendrick Perkins called him out on his own show. Like, there's nothing. I love Stephen A. Like, he's very entertaining. He's maybe the best at what he does, but I love it when guys like JJ Redick and Kendrick Perkins will go on a show and just own him for an entire segment. It's my favorite thing in the world because it's just good TV.
He puts out so much content. He's going to get caught on things.
I mean, remember the time when he talked about Hunter Henry versus Derek Johnson? Yeah. And Hunter Henry was out for the season, and Derek Johnson retired.
Yeah, you don't know football like that.
Hoops,
when it comes to hoops, the man knows his shit.
Boxing, hoops, things like that. Yeah, he's very well educated. But yeah, that was one of my favorite segments, and I loved it. And because of the fact that also I'm kind of in a state of emotion right now with the Lakers down 0-2, I need to feel a little bit better about my guy LeBron James.
Gotta win tonight,
and so for that, my guy Stephen A. Smith, love you to death, brother. But do yourself a solid, do me a solid, and hold this L. That was fun. This is a great show, and I like I said, I would love for you guys to let me know from the jump of what we talked about from the beginning about like what we see moving forward with this Chiefs organization, this Chiefs franchise. What players on the defensive side in particular? Because we can talk about offense, but we can always talk about that another time. Because I think the Chiefs adopted, like I said, that philosophy that you pay for offense. So we can talk about how they're going to continue to do that. But I think that's for a discussion another time. I want to talk about this defense because we know that Chris Jones' contract's coming up, and we know the building and the infrastructure of this defense is where I think it's most imperative to talk about moving forward. So let us know who would you guys pay for? Would you guys pay for L'Jarius Sneed? Would you guys pay for Willie Gay? Anybody else on this defense that you like that you think the Chiefs should pay for the next 3 to 5 years? It's up for debate, man, and I think it's a really good debate too. And I want to post that poll. The comments is moving forward. Who would you guys rather pay? Would it be Trey Pancake Papa Smith at guard, or would you rather pay Nick Bolton like Trevor at linebacker? There's some really good debates to discuss because there's some contracts coming up in these next 2 to 3 years. The Chiefs are going to have to make some tough decisions on, and guys that have helped them win a Super Bowl, maybe potentially win a couple more. But in the meantime, we need to get the hell out of here because of the fact that we've already taken up enough of your guys' Saturday. And like I said, there's a beautiful day. Get out there and enjoy your time. There's some NBA games on later. There's boxing on later. You guys enjoy this time, man, and the beautiful weather that we have left, because we all know that within the next couple of weeks it's going to be hot for the next 4 months. So I'm going to be staying inside, so I'm going to try to go outside as much as I can while it's still able to not sweat the entire time I'm outside and be drained like a stick of butter with a beard on. So for that, for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end, we appreciate him so much. Episode 217 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time to break down episode 218. We out of this bitch.
Later.